Hello, Internet. Welcome back to the Fast Travel Lounge. You're listening to episode 23. My name is Patrick. I am joined by Saif, Steve, and Josh. That's right, gang's all here. Say hi, everyone.
Hey, everyone.
Hello.
Hello.
So, the three musketeers that you are, how have you been? Josh especially, taking what feels like yet another week off, but he's back now. Very proud of that. Where were you this time? We went through Clown College and the underwater level, so what's next in this chapter that you call life?
Did I also visit Clown College, or was that just a Steven thing?
I thought it was just me. I think Patrick doesn't care, so he's just getting us all confused.
I mean,
we're all the same to him.
Would you not go to Clown College though? Like, if it's on offer, you're thinking, I've got a discount voucher for buy 2 lessons, get the third one free. Might as well use it. I mean, that would be my way of thinking.
Well, yeah, but I only got that because you referred me as a professor.
Chasing that classy, eh?
It is very difficult to teach my specific technique for that little jet of water that comes out of the flower. Turns out every other clown's been doing it wrong. Anyway, I guess we have to ask the obligatory question. How has everyone's technology been this week?
Pretty fine.
Pretty fine.
My blinker in my car blew up. Does that count?
No, we don't care about that. Steve, what about you?
Yeah, I've replaced the blinker fluid in my car, so it's all good.
Oh, fuck's sake.
Where do you find the blinker fluids? It's pretty rare to find. I've gone to like 5 different mechanics and asked, and I can never find it.
You think that's bad? Try finding a left-handed screwdriver.
There it is.
Well, to find the blinker fluid, all you've got to do is just like close your eyes and then reopen them really fast.
Oh.
That's annoyingly clever.
No, that was good. Let it sink in. Let it blink in, if you would.
Oh.
And you've taken it too far.
Even worse.
Do you reckon I can blink faster than Patrick's heart rate?
Thank you for
might
that.
need to cut that out.
Thank you for outing me. Don't be alarmed. Your favorite Fast Travel Lounge host might just have a slow heart, an athletic heart, if you will. I could go and climb Mount Everest and not even know. Anyway, there is a Steam sale this week, particularly for Rogue games. Anyone picked anything up? Anyone seen anything interesting?
No, I haven't. Have you?
I saw Inscription for 30% off, which was annoying because I really want to recommend that people go and play Inscription, but it's only 30% off, so I know that eventually that's going to be over the 50%, and you're basically losing money if you buy something on Steam for less than 50% off, am I right?
It's true.
Yeah, I've heard very good things about Inscription.
Oh,
yeah, me too.
It's very good. It is very good.
Is
Actually, they have
Game
have Casey's mod as like an endless sort of end game type mod, which I actually haven't played as much as I perhaps should have. Anyway, that was the only interesting thing that I found. The rest, I'm sure there's other good games in there, but yeah, that was the one that stuck out for me because I think I'm the only one of us that's played Inscription. Would that be right?
I haven't, so I'd assume so.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a Devolver game too. Ooh.
Yeah, everything's a Devolver game these days.
That's true.
I've heard it does like things like it rewrites some of your... It doesn't uninstall itself or something, or it deletes itself, and then you have to redo it or
no
something.
comment.
Oh, okay, that's spoiled. Okay, maybe that's I'm getting too far.
No, it's not actually spoiler. It does. There are story-based elements that do mess with local files on your computer, and it's very fun and cleverly done. I quite enjoyed how it approached that, how it did that.
There is, however, a demo available if you wanted to recommend people play the demo.
Why would I recommend people play the demo when they can just go pirate the full... Wait, sorry. Whoop, we're going to cut that out.
It's okay to pirate as long as you use it as a 2-hour demo.
When there's a
Or just
demo
that is the
available.
Sony way.
Or finish the game, and if you like the game, then you can buy it, and then you'd be like, yeah, cool, I've already played it.
Okay, like actual talk. How many times have people heard that excuse and they know the person that told them that has never bought the full game?
I did it. I did it for Arceus and Metroid.
I can't believe you played those on an emulator.
No, you forward did it. Like, you bought the game and then emulated it. You didn't emulate the game and then buy it afterwards. You front-loaded it.
Metroid I did the other way around. I pirated and then bought it.
I don't know, man. What's the point of owning the Switch, then? Do you even own a Switch, or you just own these bunch of games?
No, I own a Switch.
It's all virtual.
It's just that
The
they
Switch.
run it's a single-player game, and they run so much better on emulator, but at the same time, I want to support the billion-dollar company that is Nintendo.
That's
The
true.
highest
They are
grossing
going through
franchise of all
hard
time,
times right
Pokemon.
now.
Yeah, they need my sale.
Yeah.
Specifically
I mean,
yours.
They had to stoop as low as getting Chris Pratt to voice Mario, so they cannot be doing well at the moment.
Well, don't forget past how game sale tracks on which they'll on if they'll release a sequel, or if they'll even continue the Metroid franchise and give us the trilogy of the Metroid Prime that they fucking promised us the last fucking 10 years.
Metroid Prime 4 is indeed real.
I don't give a shit about Metroid Prime 4 being real. I want 1, 2, and 3 back. I want remakes.
Man, I feel like such shit. I just want 1, 2, and 3 back.
Don't tell me I can emulate them. I know I can't. I don't want to.
It was this week that, it's not in the news, so I'll mention it now, but Metroid Dread was the highest profiting Metroid game as of this week. So I'd say they'd be making something more soon.
It would be probably like, the sequel would be probably called like Metroid 2 Dread or something. Or Metroid Dreading. Metroid the Dreading.
Yeah,
there you go, we've done it.
Metroid 2 Dread Harder.
It could just be a different subtitle because Metroid Dread is just Metroid 5 and Metroid 4 was Metroid Fusion.
2 Dread, 2 Furious.
Possible.
Tokyo
I doubt
Drift.
it, but possible.
Tokyo Dread.
Tokyo Dread. There we go. Yeah, I'm back on board. I'm back on board. Josh, did you have an album?
In the ball.
Did you have an album this week that you wanted to talk about?
I can do, but I didn't know if we were actually going to do that. Are we doing it? Or?
Well,
we're doing it now, big fella. We're doing it live.
You slipped me the note before class saying,
that was
hey,
like
please let me
ago.
talk about this bit.
Yeah, and you haven't been here for 3 weeks when Patrick's been waiting to set you up this entire time.
What do you mean? I've been saying
here.
that the past couple episodes. It's just been into the void.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, well, the first album I wanted to talk about, or at least like just mention as like, hey, this really sort of like made waves. I think everyone here likes the album. It would be Meteora by Linkin Park.
Oh, fuck yeah, bass. I thought you were going to say like it was like a Katy Perry album or something.
No. I wanted to just choose like a random like popular album that even if I haven't listened to it, that we could sort of go through and be like, oh, cool. Like we could listen to this and then maybe discuss it next week or whatever, or just talk about the fact that it had cultural impact. And the first one I wanted to do was obviously one that was close to me. So that's like my favorite album of all time. So had to start there.
I just want the listeners to know, here we are, May 12th, as of recording, 2022. Meteora is a banger. That might be controversial to some of you, but I'm glad Josh has finally got the courage to speak up about it. I've been saying this for years.
That album
it's
is
only like a
20-year-old
album.
Yeah, 19. Jesus Christ.
It's old, but man, it's good.
It's actually surprising that it's older than half the shit that you guys talk about for Around the Lounge in these episodes.
Barely.
Are you saying we're talking
about some
some
pretty old shit on this show too?
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, Meteora. So, give us the old synopsis. What do you like about it? What's the hook?
Isn't this a video game podcast?
Yeah, it's a video game podcast. Or it's like a media podcast, I guess. But I didn't want to like go too far into the album. I just wanted to sort of drop an album and get everyone's like, I guess like maybe like an out of 10 or something on it, and then we could talk about a new album. And if you haven't heard it, then that's fine. I just thought it'd be interesting to have like an album per week because, video games are a huge part of my life, but music probably even more so. So I thought it would just be like kind of fun in a couple of minute segment. So, I mean, for me, it's obviously like a 10 because it's my favorite album. But what about you guys?
10. Easy 10.
Well, the first Linkin Park song that I ever heard was Numb, followed by Easier to Run, both of them from Meteora, so it has to be a 10 for me too.
Ooh.
Sorry. Look, it pains me to say it, but at the same time, it fucking doesn't. It's not Hybrid Theory. Where's In the End? No In the End, no vibe.
Hybrid Theory also slaps. I will give you that.
That's true.
It's
true.
2 10s in a row. How can you go wrong with that?
It's true. I would also give Hybrid Theory
give it the
10.
Pokemon treatment, though. It's a Linkin Park album. Come on.
So it has to go on the
Give it an
Linkin
extra
Park
point.
scale instead of a real music scale.
Yeah.
The
So
Linkin
it's a
Park
9.
scale starts at 8.
So it's a 9 for Linkin Park and about like a 3 for pop culture. But if you're playing Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3, then it's possibly an 8.
But what if you're what if you're watching Transformers by Michael Bay?
I completely forgot that Linkin Park did like every fucking song for the first like 3 movies.
Did they really? I haven't seen any of them.
I just remember What I've Done was for the first one.
I thought that was New Divide.
New Divide was number 2.
Was that number 2? Damn.
Yeah, I think they specifically wrote it for the fucking movie. Man,
Damn.
can we watch the
Probably the best part
Transformers
of those movies.
Aren't they from the same album?
Are they?
Wait, which
What is
songs?
that?
What I've Done and New Divide cannot be in the same album.
They're definitely
refuse
not
to
in the
believe
same
that.
album.
What I've Done is so much older than New Divide.
Yeah, it is.
Cool. Well, this is completely derailed. What?
I really didn't think it would go this way.
what little organization we had.
Yeah.
What I've Done was on the first album I ever bought, and that was Minutes to Midnight. And I bought that from Sam's Warehouse.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah.
I bought that from Sam's Warehouse for like $17. and my mum made such a big song and dance because like technically it was her money.
Technically.
But thanks for buying it, Mum. Peace out. Love you. Good stuff.
But if she dies, it's just your money, right?
No, I'm getting a loan from the bank of Mum and Dad, so that'll be my money.
Oh, yeah.
I have a very quick question actually on the back of that before you move on. What was everyone's first album that they bought?
11 minutes. Yeah, let's just ask another quick question.
Yeah. Well, like Steven mentioned it. So what was everyone's first album that they bought?
Minutes to Midnight by Linkin Park.
Hey, nice.
I think mine was All Nightmare Long
I don't even know what that is.
by Metallica.
Oh, ew.
Oh no, here we go. Here's the Josh take. Here we go.
I do have a Josh take on Metallica, and it's because my family was obsessed with them, so now I can't stand them.
Sorry,
great.
the
So
album was called Death Magnetic. It's just
That's a cool album name, at least.
good. Yeah, okay, good.
It's
Good
just that All Nightmare Long was like the big song for it.
What about you, Patrick?
Pat? Oh, jinx.
That was cute. You guys soulmates? My first, I bought two at the same time. Whoa, saved up a lot of dishwasher cleaning money. Walked into the store and I walked out with American Idiot by Green Day and whatever that Crazy Frog album was that had Axel F on it.
Oh my god!
It was a different time.
Oh my god!
It was a simpler time.
Well, like part of it was to kind of cover my bases because I wasn't actually sure I'd be able to get an album called American Idiot past my parents, who are not necessarily conservative, but like fairly, like, you know, any swear that comes up in a song, it's kind of like, oh, that's the nice.
I have two answers for mine.
But
Mine is
Crazy
either
Frog.
So Fresh.
What do you mean? Either?
2008.
How does that work? How do you? What? You bought one album and then you took it back and replaced it for another?
No. So this is where it's confusing. So the first ever like quote unquote album that I bought was like a So Fresh album from like 2008, which is like technically a compilation. So I don't know if that counts. But if we're talking about like
a mixtape.
You literally made the question, big fella.
I know.
These are your rules.
I know. The first like actual album by a band I think I ever bought was Scream Aim Fire by Bullet for My Valentine.
Ooh, very good choice. Yeah, that
was a
been
good album.
Yeah, good choice.
Funnily enough, you
good.
also bought me that album.
Did I really?
Yeah, you got it for me as a Christmas present once.
I probably loved it enough that I was like, hell yeah.
Cute.
Cool.
I think it was because I
you.
said one of my favorite songs from Guitar Hero World Tour was a Bullet for My Valentine song.
Probably, and I was like, oh, here we go. I love this album. You'll like this album.
My friend, back in the day when I had a 45-minute bus ride to school, my friend shared his MP3 player, you know, pre-iPod, headphone with me and played 4 Words to Choke Upon by Bullet for My Valentine.
Oh, banger.
Yeah, choice.
Really just accelerated me into the cynical life is meaningless phase of life at the ripe old age of about 9. Anyway, thank you for that, Josh. Yeah, fun segment. Kind of annoying that it took us 14 minutes into the intro. I think that might be the longest one we've ever done. That's okay. I forgive you.
And there was no mention of Krispy Kreme.
Go into... Well, that's because no one said the tech broke. I'm
Well,
sorry,
I'd like to
Steve.
thank you
Did your tech break?
Josh just said his blinker fluid's out.
Oh, you
My
said your
actual
blinker fluid's
broke.
out.
No, I said my blinker fluid's flying.
I did
Because
try
I-
and get some PlayStation donuts while I was down at when I was, just
You
doxed
doxed yourself.
Yeah, just doxed myself. But I went and bought some blinkers.
Fortunately, that's by a competitor, so we can't talk about that legally.
No. So they were out of stock still. So I don't think they've ever had them. So it's all just a scam.
Man, they're supposed to be giving away PS5s that they're probably not putting out the donuts because they don't even have PS5s at the Sony headquarters.
Bro, I'm just here trying to make a segue for the last like 2 minutes, but please, anyone else got a bit? Saif, you got a bit you just want to throw in?
Yeah, I'd like to take this moment to actually apologize to all our listeners for all the episodes being so late. Things have been hectic for me, so I still haven't actually finished last week's episode at the time of recording this one either.
They'll get it when they get it.
Actually, on that unironic bit, because I completely forgot about it until just now. Everyone let me just shill a short film that I haven't even like properly like done anything towards other than the pre-production. But turns out we've got the Quentin Tarantino of short film directors among us. Seth, you got nominated.
I wasn't a director. I was just an animator on it.
Oh my! Just roll with the bit. Fuck
What's a
me.
famous animator?
Shit. I should know this. Now that you said it,
You only
I'm
work
on
in
the
the field.
spot.
Who is a famous animator? Me, I guess. Seth, it's you, big fella.
Yeah.
I am the
You are
famous
the
animator
famous
in my
one.
area.
Yeah. Do you
Quick
want to
answer,
give us?
Brad Bird. Let's go with him.
Yeah, fair enough.
Walt fucking Disney, Jesus Christ.
Oh my god, of course.
I mean, he was in charge of the Incredibles.
Legally, we can't talk about him either. He's not Krispy Kreme. We're at 16 minutes. Want to give us a 30-second synopsis of what you've been nominated for? Because it actually is pretty impressive.
So last year I was doing a uni course at UTS Animal Logic, and we did a short film called Apart, and that made it into the Sydney Film Festival. So that's really exciting.
Is there a way that people can vote for their favorite film / voting for Apart, their new favorite film?
I don't think there's actually any nomination stuff for that. It's just that's like the world premiere sort of thing, and it's hard to get into the Sydney Film Festival.
Well, honestly, good job. That's really cool.
Yeah, unironically, they're good stuff. Good stuff.
It is a very good film as well, so you should watch it if you haven't. I really enjoyed it before I even knew it was Seth's, so that's saying something.
How do I get?
And then I knew it was Seth's, and I hated it.
Where can I view this? Where can I view this piece of art?
I'd just have to show it to you separately.
All right, so the Pirate
Is it on YouTube as well?
No, it's not on YouTube. No. Yeah, no, it's not out anywhere at the moment because the Sydney Film Festival is like the world premiere for it solo.
Yeah.
Wait, so it hasn't even premiered yet and it's like nominated. Far out, man.
I mean, that is how a lot of film festivals work. They'll try and
they want the premiere rights
as part of it. Yeah.
Like either world premiere or country premiere or something.
Yeah. No, good job. We're now at 17 and a half minutes. This is definitely the longest pre-Round the Lounge chat we've had, but here we are on a video game / news podcast. We've talked about Meteora, a short animated film, no Krispy Kreme, and
headlight fluid.
That's it. Oh yeah, and blinker fluid.
Gotta close those eyes.
Well, it was fun. 23 episodes. I think we really,
really nailed the formula on this one.
Yeah, really brought all we had to the floor. Anyway, thank you for that pre-Round the Lounge chat, and I guess we'll move into Round the Lounge. 18 minutes in. God damn it. Josh, what have you been up to? I would say this week, but since you were last here.
I actually don't know what the last thing is I talked about. So I think I had mentioned that I was getting a PS5. Yeah, I know, it's been a while. So I think I mentioned that I was getting a PS5, but I hadn't had it yet. So I've now picked up said PS5 and played it a fair bit. And I was like, oh, cool, I'm going to pick it up and I'm going to play Gran Turismo. And I played that for a couple of days and was like, oh, hey, this game's not as good as the other Gran Turismos. And then I was like, okay, well, what haven't I played? Because I didn't have a PS3 and I didn't really have a PS4 for long at all. So I decided to pick up the first Last of Us after hearing Steve shill it. And I played and finished that. So you can talk about that, or otherwise I can recap the other stuff I've done. But basically, Gran Turismo, Last of Us 2. I played a little bit of FIFA 22 for the meme, and a game called War Thunder on PC.
All right, cool. Seth, what have you been up to?
I watched Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, and that's about it.
All right. Steve.
I have finished The Last of Us Part 2. You lied to me, Pat. You said it was only an hour left, and I reckon it was about 2.5 hours because I got stuck at one part.
Well, that's on you.
I got stuck, therefore it's your fault. I love it.
Pat was like, oh, I don't know, you got between 1 minute and 59 minutes. I'm like, yeah, right. And then I sat down and I tried to play it. I'm like, I'm stuck at this part. But at the same time,
just the epilogue, bro. Just finish the game. Really not.
But then
at
the same time, I was playing it in the afternoon and the sun was getting in it, so I couldn't really see a lot of things.
Oh yeah, fair enough.
It's everyone's fault but yours.
Yeah, well, it's not my fault. I'm an epic Major League gamer, so can't be me.
Part of the EPL.
And I've get me out of here. And I've also this is the Yooka-Laylee update. I'm on 69 tries of the Impossible Lair. And if I do any more, I'm gonna have a Joker moment. So I'm just putting that down for a bit.
Which kind of Joker moment? The one where he shot up the cinema, or the one from the actual movies?
All of the above, my friend.
Damn, not sure we can joke about that.
Yeah, like they weren't lying when they said
emails.
They weren't lying when they said it was an impossible lair. Let me just say that.
Yeah, right.
What have you been up to, Pat?
Yeah, thank you for asking. I played a bit more Elden Ring. Probably won't talk about that. We've talked about that enough. I actually played through a bunch of levels of Mini Motorways as something different. Might touch on that. We'll see how we go for time. Right, I guess first thing we should get into feel like Last of Us Part 1's probably the elephant in the room. So why don't we touch on Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness? Get a movie out of the way, seeing as we've done, all other sorts of media so far. Seth, how was that?
Yeah, I actually like this quite a lot. It's very different for what a Marvel film is, and that's chalked up a lot to Sam Raimi being the director. And if you've seen Sam Raimi movies besides Spider-Man, you know that he likes horror and horror elements. So before the movie came out, they were saying that this was going to be like the first Marvel horror movie.
Was Spider-Man 3 not horrifying?
For all the wrong reasons.
Yeah, it wasn't a horror movie, but it was horrifying.
What do you mean? It was really good. What the fuck are you guys talking about? It was good.
It's okay. It gets more flack than it deserves.
Fuck you talking on this very podcast. Well, it doesn't matter. Look, keep going.
Yeah, it's not 100% horror, but I can see where people were coming from when they're saying it.
Right, yeah.
It's actually a very inspired idea to make like a horror slasher flick out of superheroes. It works really well. I wasn't expecting it to work as well as it did, but the character they used as the slasher villain is really great. And
so I need to ask this, and I ask this with all sincerity. None of the trailers I've seen suggest in any way it's a horror slasher film. Are you sure you went to Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness?
I'm 100% sure those trailers show absolutely nothing about the movie, to the point where I was convinced that it was a different movie going into it than what it ended up being. I was expecting a lot more multiverse travel than is in the movie, and like more absurd visual effects and like CGI, and there's a lot of that in the movie. It's just not as much as I was expecting, and I was expecting those to be the main focus of the movie, especially when some of the trailers were doing really interesting things like having the VFX break out of the cinematic borders. I thought that was a really interesting idea for trailers, and that's just not in the movie because there's no cinematic borders.
Strange.
Damn it, you were holding on to that the whole time.
Yeah, sure, let's pretend I did that intentionally. Did you like it?
Yeah, so did you like it?
Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. I'd probably give it like an 8 out of 10. Like, it's not super amazing, but it's up there for me.
So is it the sort of film that you actually do need to see in cinemas to appreciate, or is it just a good film, but you don't have to see it on a big screen to fully, get into it?
That's a hard question for me to answer, because honestly, I don't care either way. The cinema experience wasn't that great for this movie. Like, you know how at the end of Endgame and during Spider-Man, the theaters were popping off at certain moments for those movies. There was no big pop-off moments in this movie or anything, so it wasn't like the audience got super into like cheering or anything, but...
So what it sounds like is that Steve would really like enjoying watching this in the cinema because he treats every cinema experience like a fucking library.
Yeah, he'd
love
good.
it. You're there to watch the fucking movie. If I wanted to watch people cheer or clap, I'd catch a fucking plane.
I'm on Steve's side for this.
wait.
Captain America's on the screen. I'm shocked.
Hold up. How many planes are you on where people clap? What sort
Every single plane I've ever been on, someone claps when it lands.
Apparently,
I don't understand.
It's a common thing for Americans to clap at the end of plane rides.
Are they surprised that it landed safely?
They're probably all expecting another 9/11.
Hey, that's...
Oh my god.
Are we making those jokes? Are we allowed to?
We've done the Joker jokes, so... They're probably all waiting for another beep 11. I wonder what he's going to send.
Well, that's going to be more emails. Thanks, guys.
Or as we say it in the civilized world, 11th 9.
But no, like...
True.
It like airlines getting taken over is, as far as I know, is a big fear in America. So, like, a successful flight is a form of celebration.
America is so fucking confusing. But yeah.
do they have to tip their pilots like a waitress? Like they land and the pilots are like, "Hey, 20% gratuity, please."
God, I don't know, but if they're anything like most people are with bus drivers, I'd assume not.
I keep seeing posts on LinkedIn recently.
American Airways doesn't pay them a living wage; they rely on tips.
I keep seeing posts on LinkedIn recently, right? So there's because obviously most major companies are American, at least in the field in Australia, at least most companies that we work for are American based. I keep seeing these posts being up like, oh, end of financial year is coming up. Most people are going to be getting a raise. Be sure to get your boss something nice or tip him. And I'm like, sorry, what?
Tip him? Tip the boss?
It's so confusing to me.
Or there'd be like leaked company memos of like, hey, we're all chipping in to get the CEO something nice. So if you just want to toss like, $20 into this account, we're going to pull our cash and buy the CEO a present. And you're like, is there anything that a bunch of people could buy that he can't buy himself?
Don't forget to tip your landlords as well, fellas.
Yep.
and your Witcher, toss a coin to him.
Okay, that was good.
Tying back into the game podcast. I like it.
There we go. Yeah, had to get there eventually. Video games, am I right?
Lana Del Rey has something to say.
We're on cinema at the moment, not video games.
Okay, so
my bad.
Okay, so all right, so level with me here. Doctor Strange. Is there a lot of cameos?
Yes, there are. They're not like throughout the movie, but there's one specific segment in the middle of the movie that has a lot of cameos. And I just want to say they introduced a new character in this movie as well. And I'm so glad I watched The Office because they're played by Jim. Sorry, Jim.
I was going to say, Jim, sick.
So is
finally,
the new
Jim's in the
Dr.
MCU,
Normal?
mad.
So when he just stares at the camera.
he doesn't break the fourth wall in this one, unfortunately.
That'd be so fucking funny. It'd be so good. Something happens and someone just falls over or something, or someone dies and he just stares at the camera and blinks like. There's one character for some reason he pranks that no one knows why.
Just does the OU look.
But yeah, when he was
introduced,
John Krasinski, right? The actor John Krasinski.
Yeah,
Yep.
he is in the movie. Yeah,
That's what is this? A crossover episode?
And now do not Google it because the moment you do, you'll be spoiled on who he plays.
Dr. Normal.
Dr. Normal.
I get it. That's a good one, actually.
Wait. Hang on. Wait. No, but it's the opposite of doctor. Homeopath normal.
If you.
All right, that's it. We peaked.
Prominent anti-vaxxer normal.
He does his own research.
First name Karen.
He does. And you know what? He's proud of it.
Research. That's his superpower.
His thesis is made of macrame and it's on the fridge and his mum is proud of it, all right? You leave him alone.
That's excellent.
So, Saif, you gave it an 8 out of 10. So, sounds like you would recommend that people go watch it in cinemas. This is not the first Doctor Strange film. Is there anything that people need to watch beforehand?
Not really. They make an offhand mention of Spider-Man No Way Home, but it's like one very quick gag section about the fact that the movie happened, and then some jokes about Spider-Man. Because so to give a quick brief plot summary, like not full plot, like synopsis, I guess. There's a character that can travel through the multiverse, and she's trying to get to like
Doctor Strange.
No, not Doctor Strange. Another character. God, I can't remember her full name, but her first name is America.
America Captain.
No,
go back.
No, it's not that. But
it's an honor, sir.
Anyway, she's trying to get to like the center of like all of existence to get a spell book.
And oh my god, it's Dr. Nefarious from Ratchet and Clank 3.
No way.
I don't know who that is.
Oh, big fella, you gotta play Ratchet and Clank.
Shut the fuck up.
What if Captain Quark just appears in the middle of
she's trying to get there, but there's demons that are following her throughout, trying to get the book before her.
Wait, sorry, actual demons?
Actual demons, yes.
What? It's been a long time since I've seen a Marvel movie, but this is really bizarre.
It's a crossover with Supernatural.
Ah, I see.
But as she's getting attacked, she doesn't have control of her powers, so she like panics and opens a portal into the multiverse and lands where our Doctor Strange is. And from there, he's just trying to help her get to the book before anything happens and keep her they're both being chased down by the slasher villain of the movie, who's trying to get the character with the multiverse powers. The villain is trying to get them because magical beings can absorb other entities into themselves. So they just want to eat this character so they can gain their multiverse travel powers.
So you're playing a giant game of Spore, and you're trying to make it to land.
God, what a throwback Spore is.
Oh, that's such a great game.
I'm just trying to tie it back
into, this is a video game podcast after all. Am I right, fellas?
I guess.
Well, I'm not going to say you're wrong.
But yeah, Spore, wow, what a great game. Now that is
Now that's an 8 out of 10.
Now that's a video game.
Thanks for that, Saif. Anyway, so Spore.
Is it worth watching for someone that doesn't watch Marvel movies even? If it's so different to other Marvel movies? Would I enjoy it?
I'd say so.
Josh specifically.
Actually, no. I think Josh would nitpick the hell out of it.
Oh,
there's quite a few dumb decisions made in the movie that I think Josh would nitpick the hell out of.
The Last Jedi dumb or just regular dumb?
Just regular dumb.
Alright, cool. I can deal with that.
Like, this character can levitate, but for some reason they during this tense scene, instead of levitating, they're chasing people on their bare feet with broken glass everywhere.
Yeah, I would nitpick the hell out of that.
Maybe they were tired.
Yeah, that is probably the excuse they're going with. Like, they just got out of a fight where they use a lot of energy, so they're probably out of magic ability for now.
It was having trouble getting it up.
They need to replenish their mana.
Yeah, need to drink a mana potion.
Having trouble getting it up. That's a good one. I'll say that again.
Hey,
and that brings us to our sponsor, Blue Chew.
Krispy Kreme. Wait, shit.
I also want to mention that before going into this, because one of the trailers showed a second Doctor Strange, like an evil Doctor Strange, I was like, oh, I should probably watch Marvel What If, because that's the whole multiverse thing. And
that is very good.
It is. It's fantastic. And I watched it all the night before going to go see Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. And I was like, okay, I'm going to watch this because they're probably going to do some throwbacks to it. There were none. There was absolutely no connection between the two.
Bruh.
Oh, well.
To be fair, if they tried to reference every single piece of Marvel media, you would spend your entire life just watching Marvel stuff and nothing else.
I mean, yes, that's basically what they've got people in a loop of doing.
It's true.
Yeah, people do that now, man.
It's true. The future is here. Well, thank you for that, Seth. Yeah, I guess if you're a fan of Marvel films or Doctor Strange or Benediction Cucumber himself, you can go along and see the movie at a local cinema near you. Right, where shall we move on to next in this multiverse that we call Round the Lounge? Why don't we stop in on... Was there much more that you wanted to add to your ukulele synopsis, Steve?
No. I need to get...
Okay, thanks. So, Josh, Last of Us.
Literally, to give you a quick...
He got to 69 attempts and he was done.
Yeah, I put
the save file has to end there.
Yeah,
I just have to get a breath mint or something, right? So essentially...
Okay. I heard that increases the sensation.
All right, you can stop talking.
So muting Josh, kicking him out. So essentially the last level is the impossible lair, and you've got to get through that. But the more bees you collect in like the overworld, you pretty much get like a free hit off on you, and you're invincible essentially. So there are 48 bees. So essentially you can get hit 48 times. I have 40 bees, and I think I've made it to, because it gives you a percentage like how far you made it. I think I made it to 79%. So I'm hoping if I get another 8 bees, I'll be able to finish it. But the caveat with that is, though, I should be getting another 4 more achievements. So essentially, I need to get more achievements to progress the game. So happy days, I guess. I'm just sick of that game.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've put myself every day I will collect 2 or 3 bees. So then hopefully next week I'm done.
Sorry, did you say every day you want to collect 2B?
Or not 2B?
2 or 3 bees.
I'd spend every day collecting 2B.
Yeah.
Get all the endings.
What a great game.
It's near Automata for those that weren't aware.
For the uninitiated.
Also,
don't believe me.
For the B-less.
just a quick aside, because I feel like I should mention this.
Please don't mention this.
The new mobile game has a Final Fantasy 14 crossover events right now, and it just spoils the shit out of Shadowbringers.
I'll be honest with you, big fella, I don't care. There's a
I
spoiler coming
care
up next
immensely. I am the Final Fantasy 14 person here, so I feel compelled to bring it up.
To quote the late great Steve, I sleep.
I do sleep.
It's late great because he was great, but not anymore.
Fuck, I'll get out of here. Okay, so I'm done with you.
Fucking late for the recording. High five.
What do you mean? I was the first one in the chat. I was the first one here.
Maybe he can get the great title back once he finishes the impossible lair.
It's true. Once it becomes possible, then we'll talk. Fair enough. Thank you for that, Steve. I guess the last thing, I'm not going to bother with mini motorways. It's a fucking casual game. Might come back to it later. Who knows? Last of Us. Might as well do Last of Us chat. So, I know that we've been preparing this for about 3 episodes, but it seems like only recently Josh has decided that he also wants to play Last of Us, so now we can't talk about it. But we can talk about Last of Us. Yeah, we can talk about Last of Us 1. I know that we've hinted at Last of Us Part 2. Might be a spoiler cast, who knows?
Another one.
We'll never release.
But we might as well talk about Last of Us Part 1, because that's finally... Wait, hang on. Wait. Saif, are you going to play Last of Us?
I've already
Haven't
played
you played
it,
the
so
first
it doesn't
one and not
matter.
played number 2?
It was Part 2 that you haven't played, right?
Yeah, I've seen like 80% of it though, and I know the ending.
That's right. Yeah, because we were talking about you playing the DLC. I forget the name of it. What is the DLC?
Left Behind.
The DLC for Part 1?
Left Behind.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Behind,
yeah. I wanted to say Left 4 Dead. Yeah, that's the one. Right. So Last of Us Part 1. Old game. 10 years older, actually, isn't it?
Oh my god, is it really?
Getting there, I think it's like 9.
God, that holds up remarkably well for that age.
Getting close. Right. So I really didn't prepare any kind of deep divey stuff, which is probably for the best because I don't want to spend an hour on this like we have done with previous deep dives. I will start with Josh, having just played it. You have remarked in the group chat multiple times about how scary different elements are.
It's a scary game.
It is a scary game.
Steve, leave him alone. Don't listen to him, Josh. I would be very curious.
It's the safe space.
It is absolutely not. There's nothing scary about the game. It's just
from
tense.
No, but I'd be curious to know what the game does right to build an atmosphere where you feel scared, because that's always something that's very difficult to do with video games, right? Like, there are games that even market themselves as being scary that in some ways aren't, because they fall through or you become too strong.
Or they're just funny.
I'm letting a lot of context into this because I'd also say that something like Dying Light is in some ways a scary game because the power curve of you as the character means that you are so much weaker compared to the outside world when you start that it is scary to get into, unfamiliar situations. But you get so strong that by the end of it, the zombies are basically trivial obstacles for you to overcome. And that is part of the marketing gimmick for the game, I would say. But The Last of Us constantly keeps you on the back foot with, you are never strong enough to overpower zombies between at the start and at the end of the game. So what sort of things does the game do right to make you feel scared or uneasy about what you're playing?
Okay, so there's a lot of different factors that build that very specific atmosphere. The first thing that I want to mention, because it's the biggest, I think, even for the age of the game, is the sound design. It is remarkably good. It is so good. Like,
break it down. What sort of pieces? Like, sound design is broad, right?
It is very broad, but just so there'll be certain. So obviously, it has the same sort of things that every other game does for the most part. Where you've got like if you're in an area that's safe, you'll have like some kind of peaceful background music, whatever. And then if you're in the middle of a fight, it'll be the tense music. It does that very, very, very well, and the swap between them are not a hard shift. It's usually like it just fades in quite nicely, and it'll usually sort of start with you like dropping into an area or getting into what is basically a puzzle room if you look at it from a grand scheme of things. It doesn't feel like a puzzle room. So rather than just sort of completing the objective of killing this many zombies and moving on or whatever, the sound design keeps playing throughout it until you kind of leave that area. So you're never really sure if you've actually finished that puzzle, or if there's more to go and more things are going to come in, or if there's more enemies just waiting around the corner. They pulled that off really, really, really well. The actual like everything from like the sound of you reloading to the sound of like zombies clicking in the distance and like just hearing footsteps and everything, all of that really ties in really well. You notice every single little bit of sound that you're making that maybe some companion that you're with is making, whether that's, Ellie at the time just... Yeah, I think I remarked multiple times throughout the playthrough because I think you were watching me for most of it, Patrick, or someone was.
Not most. Little
Not
bits
most.
of it. I think I've actually seen you. I think I've been sitting on you playing part 2 more than part 1. But
Probably.
Continue the point though.
But I made my point multiple times where I was very tense and I was like afraid of what was coming up, and then Ellie would just make some like dumb comment or just like trip over something or just knock something over, and I'd be like, "Stop that!" It was freaking me out. So there was every single bit of the sound design, from like the monsters, from your companions, to even you just reloading a weapon or crafting something. Everything feels like the noise that you make could cause you to die. Now that doesn't really play into effect. Like if you're crafting something, I never managed to like aggro a clicker or something, but it feels like it could. And that the fact that it does feel that way sort of just added to the stress and the tense. So I really liked that.
Okay, cool. Question for Steve now. Steve, having finished Last of Us Part 2, which I know that I've said this the past few episodes, we will hopefully get to next week. Stay tuned.
We can't talk about the first like half or so, because I'm basically halfway through the first one.
Okay, so where are you? Because if you're where you think you are, you're not halfway.
I'm fairly close to half. I'm basically in the hospital at the moment to track down...
Not close to half.
No, is that seriously not half? I played like 10, 13 hours.
Sorry, man.
It's a 30-hour game.
Not close to half.
People told me it was about 25-hour game, so yeah, okay.
The hospital
it sort of
is
depends.
not half.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I've played for quite a bit, and
Like,
I'm up to the hospital.
The second half might go by, like, I count, I mean, you probably know that you swapped to playing as Abby through the second half.
I do know that, yeah.
Is, fairly well known. I mean, even Last of Us Part 2 is now considered, not a new game. But it might be that you play through the Abby section faster than the Ellie section, but I count that swap over as halfway through, and you're still a good multiple hours away from that crossover point.
Okay,
Well, depends
so
how long
not quite halfway.
Yeah, depends how long it takes you to get through the next part. I struggled a bit.
True. But I don't think you're as close to halfway as you think you are.
Yeah.
And it's also not an invitation to speedrun it, because the game really not falls apart, but actually this leads nicely into the question I have for Steve, which is that through Last of Us Part 1 and Part 2, they combine lots of slow-paced, I'm going to call combat sections, places where there are things that can kill you, but you don't rush through them, right? It's not like an FPS, you just charge in guns blazing. But there are also some places that you do charge in guns blazing. Is there a tempo to the gameplay that you felt worked better for Last of Us, specifically with Last of Us Part 1, that you felt worked better? Like you felt that the game was more immersive when you had to sneak around clickers through the graveyard, for example? Or was it better when it was a lot faster and more tense, like the not the hit and run, but the Pittsburgh bit where you get stopped at that roadside outpost?
The intersection, yeah.
Yeah, the intersection.
Yeah, that's
what would your thoughts on that be, Steve?
So my thoughts would be that The Last of Us does that kind of stuff really well, because I was playing it on a bit of the harder difficulty. So
which stuff? The change, or one of the two tempos better?
One of the two tempos. So it's a bit of everything as well. So it does the slow stuff really good, because I was always sneaking around trying not to waste my bullets, or if I was taking out people, I was taking them out quietly, or with like a bow and arrow or something. It's much better in 2, because for lack of a better word, the combat arenas that you put in, arena's probably not the best word, but it's the best word I can come up with. They're a lot bigger, and there's a lot more sort of gaps you can slide behind, a lot more places of cover that don't look like cover. Like, you're not in a building and it's like 4 desks. You'll be in a building, there's 1 desk overturned, maybe like a door that's been swung open. Like, it's a lot more varied in that. It doesn't seem more... number 2 doesn't seem as video gamey. And it definitely does get that slow, tense... If I get discovered, I'm probably going to get killed, or I'm going to waste a bunch of ammo, and I'm not sure when's the next time I'm going to be able to pick something up. So it does sort of... It's quite engaging in that aspect. But then at a certain time, especially for The Last of Us 1... how the enemies move is semi-scripted and you can sort of tell their patterns. And if you sort of are in the wrong spot when a checkpoint saves, you're always going to be discovered. So then you sort of have to do it anyway. And then if you do die, you have to replay that part again, and you sort of get frustrated with it. But The Last of Us Part 2 does sort of solve that issue because the AI is a lot smarter. And even like just if you sort of break their path by being nearly seen or making a distraction, they have different paths to take. Or even if they find the bodies of one of their friends, that's really good because then they all get alert without knowing exactly where you are.
That's really good, Steve. 2022.
Well, no, it's good from a game point of view because when you're playing like stealth action games in the past, as soon as they see one of their friends die, or like when they see the bodies of one of their friends, like, oh, I know exactly where the player character is, and they just warm you.
Right.
So you have to worry about like hiding the bodies. With The Last of Us Part 2, you don't have to worry about hiding the body. They just change their patterns of movement and become on alert. So yeah, I think it does it really well. The slow, tense moments.
Finally, lucky last question for you, Saif. I have actually picked these questions for each of you specifically, by the way.
Thank you.
You might be thinking, God, this is off the cuff. I planned this. Might have only planned this the last 2 minutes.
Question, to be honest.
Yeah, well, here we go.
You got it.
You played Left Behind DLC fairly recently. In that, it focuses on Ellie as a character rather than Joel, the playable character of Last of Us Part 1. Most of it at least. I'm curious as to whether a game like Last of Us Part 1, it really thrusts you into an environment that you're unfamiliar with. So I'd be wondering if you had opinions about why it is that they chose that you would play Joel rather than Ellie, who's kind of experiencing this world as you, the player, are for the first time, right? Like, we have a large time skip between Joel when he's first exposed to this with the death of his daughter to a 20-year gap to now taking charge of Ellie. Is there any opinion that you have about why it is that you are playing the kind of older, more experienced character versus the one that maybe is more unsure of the situation, unsure of the surroundings, unsure of the environment? Because that's, I would argue, closer to how the audience would feel playing through the game for the first time. Any thoughts?
Well, first of all, you said recently, and I don't know how likely it is you'd call I played the DLC 7 years ago to be recent.
Was it?
I just played the DLC.
Was it Steve that just played Left Behind?
Yeah.
It was me because I played number 1 and then Left Behind.
My house of cards comes crumbling down.
He doesn't even listen when we
question
talk.
for Steve. Same question. Did you have any thoughts, Saif? I my bad. I actually thought it was you that played Left Behind more recently, but I'll throw it to Steve if you don't have any thoughts on it.
No, I do. It's more from the narrative side of it that they made that decision rather than like a gameplay and world design. So they want you in the role of Joel to so that you, like him, can become attached to Ellie, so you can kind of see the reasons why he does the things he does, especially with the end of the game where he just absolutely mauls a hospital full of fireflies just to get her, and you're like, this is the wrong thing to do.
Yeah, I'd do that.
but I understand why he's doing it, and given the circumstances, I may or may not have done the same thing, and I think that's...
Fuck Joel. I said it.
Oh,
what's your
I have
opinion,
very
Josh?
different opinions.
Get fucked.
I don't know, there's no proof that vaccines work.
Oh, get out of here. Alrighty.
Wow.
We owe it to the human
Holy
race to
shit.
try.
That's the barbiest of bobbed comments we've heard in a long
It's definitely
time.
the Dr. Normal opinion there.
Homeopath normal.
Homeopath normal checking in.
Seth take.
No, I've actually got my vaccinations and boosted. I just wanted to
sure
stab Steven.
I'm sure you have.
bitch.
But yeah, so yeah, they've done it from a standpoint where you can either like try and justify why he's done it, or like Steve, hate him for it. And what Joel does at the end of the game, where he does save Ellie, is a massive division for people that have played The Last of Us. So I think it was a good call to make him the player character and become attached to Ellie the way he did, rather than experience the world through Ellie's eyes.
So on the back of that, I've got one more question, probably more so for the group, and then we'll just open it up to, because I know that I addressed the last three to people specifically, and if other people probably have thoughts on those three, we can go through those as well. But the last question will ask more towards the group than one person in particular. Last of Us Part 1 was going to springboard off that idea of conflict right at the end. I'm allowing exceptions for the people that have played Last of Us more recently. I think everyone's been fairly aware of what Last of Us is, generally for the last 9 years, where the end of the game is kind of a decision made on the back of you playing as Joel and getting attached to Ellie. So it's a two-part question. One, do you think the section where we play as Ellie helps form an attachment to Ellie more than if we'd only played as Joel and just had another time skip when we were out, cold for that few weeks, when it switched into winter? And two, do you think the division is split along particular lines that you can point to? Like, for example, we're guys, we do guy things. Joel's a guy, Joel does guy things, that we'd just be in a better place to understand his motivations than maybe a woman of our age playing as Joel. Is there any kind of division along particular lines, particular groups that would be more or less likely to embrace what Joel did at the end of Last of Us Part 1? I don't know. Josh, do you have any thoughts on that first, just to stop all of you speaking at once?
There's a lot to unpack in that question, to be honest.
It's basically two questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think to answer, I don't really know how to answer that coherently. I think
start with the winter section.
So the winter section makes. I don't think that it makes a difference in terms of the ending as per, if you've played as Ellie for a little while, are you more likely to want to save Ellie or anything? I don't think that ties in.
So just quickly on that, just as an aside, like super quickly then, end of Last of Us Part 1, we agree with Joel, yes or no, Josh?
I agree with Joel. If we're just doing yes or no, then I'll just leave it at yes.
Cool. Saif?
Yeah, I would, given the situation, I would have done, if I was Joel, I would have definitely gone with that decision and just saved Ellie.
Thank you for saying yes in 3 sentences. Steve?
No.
Interesting. Cool.
What about you,
point.
What about you, Pat?
Yeah.
Tiebreaker.
Yes or no?
No.
Yes. The yes or no really makes it hard, honestly.
That's fine, because the thing is, I'm just conscious of us just sitting here in silence thinking of our answers. Anyway, continue your point. The winter section. You don't think it ties into our decision making as Joel at the end of the game. Interesting. I would have disagreed, but continue the point.
So I don't think it makes. So that's very different for me though, because I don't think it makes a difference because I still would have gone to save Ellie. So I'd if that decision had popped up at that point of the game before then, I would have still done that. I still would have saved Ellie before playing as Ellie. I think it might influence some people's decision in terms of like, oh, I played Ellie, like she's the main character kind of thing, blah 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 blah. I also had the I guess side effect of knowing that there was a second game where you play as Ellie, so she didn't die.
Yeah, okay,
so it really kind of puts that into perspective for me. Like either way, I was like, I need to save Ellie because there's a second game. So it's really hard for me to answer in the mindset of just the first game.
I mean, it could have been Infamous too, right? There's a canon ending, even though you have the choice at the end. But
I could be. I haven't played Infamous 2, but yeah.
Okay, well, we're gonna have to get into that in a later date. But you're missing out, my friend. Anyway, sorry, continue with this.
HD
then
collection
I'll throw it to
win.
Steve and then Seth. True.
I don't think that part makes a huge factor around whether or not you save Ellie because it's just so tied into their relationship together. So even though you're playing as Ellie for the first bit and then you play as Ellie and Joel towards the end of that section, swapping back and forth, I think that the whole point of that section was to build their like father-daughter relationship and that he really cares for her. I don't think that you playing as Ellie matters as much as what that section was doing with their relationship towards wanting to save her. I think the whole back and forth of, oh, I need to save her, she's like my daughter, and you play each side of things matters more than actually just playing as Ellie, if that makes sense. You
would argue that trying to summarize, so that you would argue that at the end of the section where you play as Ellie and you fighting off David, that the moment where Joel comes to save Ellie, when Ellie is just absolutely macheteing the shit out of David's face,
Which was deserved.
that seeing. Yeah, true. Yeah, it was.
Absolutely deserved, yeah.
That seeing that conflict play out with you having gone through that conflict as Ellie doesn't then have a bearing on the ending where you are doing the same thing from the Joel perspective of coming in and saving Ellie once again. That's sort of where you're at?
Yeah, so I think if they had me not play as Ellie and just showed the cutscenes or whatever of Ellie going through that same thing, then I don't think it would have made a difference. I think it was more around that actual relationship of them together and him coming in to save her and her being like breaking down in tears, like, oh, you know, he like tried to assault me and blah 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 blah, and they
tried to eat her, but
tried to eat as well. Yeah.
Let's call a spade a spade.
Little column B. He was
little column A, little column B. Like I think that dynamic
There's
and that
multiple
situation
ways he could have eaten
well.
her.
Multiple ways to skin an Ellie.
Get him out of
She
here.
was
She's-
14, Saif.
You're out of here. You're out of here, fella. Final warning.
Steve,
I'm just saying that's what the game was going for, not what I was going for.
anything more to add, Josh?
Yeah, the second half, I think that in terms of playing as a woman or playing as a man perspective or you know any other, I think
I don't want it to be that black and white. I'm just saying, like, I think we all know that it was a divisive ending. I'm just wondering if you can draw lines or patterns around who you think might have been in favor or against the ending. Because we did experience the game through one perspective is my argument. That's what I'm trying to get to. I probably butchered how I got there, but
you absolutely did. You brought gender into it for some reason.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't think the gender makes a difference. I think that your attachment to Ellie and even the time frame that you played the game makes a difference. Like I played through it in a couple of days, and I was really attached to those characters. So if I had played that over a couple of months and I was fairly detached from those characters, it wouldn't have been quite as I wouldn't have felt the need to go, you know, butcher up an entire faction and save Ellie.
Wait, hang on. Sorry, you're saying that you wouldn't have felt that need if you played it over a longer period of time? I missed the first.
Yeah, like
if you play it over a couple of months, you'd have more breaks and it doesn't stick as deeply.
Yeah, gotcha. Cool. Steve, same questions.
Yeah, the Ellie part doesn't really reflect on the ending for me. The Ellie part, it's just story content, and it shows that Ellie, because how much Ellie cares about Joel, because she goes to so much effort, and there's a true sense of desperation in what she's trying to do to make sure that he makes it through, and it's sort of reflected in her trials with David, and trying not to be eaten, and it's really good, and it's a credit to
trying not to be eaten. Such a like blase one-line summary of that. Like it's accurate. It's entirely accurate. I agree with you. It's just funny to like state that as like, oh yeah, that part of the game is where you try not to be eaten by the guy that voiced Drake.
Yeah, but it's and it just
also
shows.
On that, I had no idea it was Nolan North the first time playing through. I had to see his name in the credits to realize it was him.
God, he's such a good voice actor.
He is.
Yeah, he is. He's in every video game though. So I'm
he is.
To see him there.
Him and Troy Baker.
Yeah, true.
Well, yeah, it's more of it develops Ellie as a character and how much she cares, and it also develops the relationship, the dynamic there. That is the scene where it's no longer Joel escorting Ellie for the sake of the job or whatever it is. It is they are literally bonded. They are very close, whether it's a father-daughter relationship, whether they're really good friends, whether it's a mentor and their student or what have you. They are very close, and that scene solidifies it, and it is really good. And that is probably one of like the highlights of The Last of Us Part 1. I can't remember what you said the second question was, but
second question, not trying to boil it down into like a gender fight, but that's apparently what I did. My apologies for that. I just mean we play through most of the game as one perspective. Do you think that we playing through that game as one perspective changes how we view the ending, whether we are more or less likely to experience parts of life outside of Last of Us Part 1 from a similar perspective as Joel?
Not really. I don't think so. I think, look, I'll say that like having the conversation of like gender or race probably doesn't really it doesn't really do this game any justice. But then at the same time, I'll say this as a straight white man, and every video game character is labeled after me, so maybe I can't see my own blindness because every other game I'm sort of used to seeing things through that perspective.
To be
I guess
fair, you
that's-
as a
that's
straight
the first
white
answer
man
to
had us sitting here saying, no, I wouldn't have done what Joel did. So
Yeah.
clearly
Fair.
there's a divide.
Yeah, it might be just on ways people think, and maybe it's just more of a logical thinking versus emotional response type of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
I-
that's where
like-
the divide
Yeah.
is. If you're thinking of it in a logical way of the vaccine could save people, or the emotional.
At my
we're
core,
already
that's
too
the
far
same way I
gone.
view it too. We're gonna circle back to why Steve doesn't think it was a good idea, because I'm also in his camp for that. But Seth, the same questions to you.
For the first one, no, I don't think playing as Ellie actually did anything to for the
I'm
ending
so
itself.
surprised that none of you think that the.
It's
Okay, I'm gonna. Okay, continue. I'm surprised at that, but continue.
it's more of the way they're building the tension between those two sections, I feel. So playing as Ellie and Joel back to back, swapping between them in winter is an extremely effective way of making that scene more dramatic and more tense. Like, you can see Ellie's point of view, so as Ellie you want to get out of it, but then you switch to Joel and you're like, okay, I want to hurry and get Ellie out of that situation. I'm like the guy that's been her protector. I need to get there before something dreadful happens, while she's like not so much fighting for her. She's not exactly fighting for her life in that section. She's more trying to
She's fighting for her limbs.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, she's been trying more to stay out of sight, stay on the down low, and it's not until she's backed into a corner that she needs to fight David. But yeah, so you're constantly going back and forth, and it's like that sort of tension of will Joel make it there in time? What can Ellie do to survive the situation? And it's like, in that moment, you're like, okay, so she's learned a lot from Joel and how to survive, so she can, in some capacity, stick up for herself. But also as Joel, he's like finally realizing, I give a shit about this girl. I'm treating her like a daughter now, and I've bonded with her in a way that can't be replaced.
And so therefore you need to go and get cigarettes and never come back.
Yeah, exactly.
I have another
we're on
question
the same
before you
page.
go into that, Patrick. Do you think that, because I played the DLC after the main game, and I assume pretty much everyone did, do you
Yeah.
think that the events of the DLC, where half of it is about sort of her personal relationship with her friend, and then the other half was basically her really struggling to find medicine to save Joel, do you think that influenced your decision on if she should be saved, or if she should die for humanity, etc., etc.?
I'm going to squirrel out of that question and say that I already had what I hope to be fairly well-formed thoughts on what I interpreted the ending to be before playing the DLC. So it's kind of hard to go through the game and through the ending and then retroactively adjust how I feel about the ending based on information after the fact.
Mhm.
So it's kind of like a non-factor, if that makes any sense. It's not that I don't have an opinion on that. It's just that the opinion is stronger based on Last of Us Part 1 itself, regardless of the DLC.
Okay.
But I think we can probably figure out why Seth and Josh are in favor of what Joel did. I'm more interested to know, Steve, why are you against what he did at the end of the game?
Because he doomed the human race. Like, it's...
He didn't doom them. He already had evidence that some of humanity is thriving. People are getting some sort of civilization back together with what his brother's been doing. So there's a safe haven.
There's still the cordyceps thing outside infecting people. There's still the roaming infections out there. He doesn't know that the vaccine might have created some sort of antidote to reverse the people that had been infected. It's one of those things that, like,
I don't think that's science, because it had invaded the brain at that point.
Yeah, I'm going to press X to doubt that. I don't think giving someone an antidote ungrows the mushrooms in their head when they're a clicker.
The vaccine's goal was just to stop people that are alive from being infected.
Yeah, and it would have...
But even then, there's still the fight for survival sort of aspect of, like, even if people are immune, they've still got to fight. They've still got to go out to get supplies, survive against the cordyceps zombies.
But you don't have to worry about, like, getting bitten and it's like, well, got to shoot myself now, or oh no, I breathed in a spore, got to shoot myself now.
Yeah. So Seth, your argument is it's meaningless, therefore don't bother.
No, I'm not saying it's meaningless. I'm saying there's.
So it all boils. Everything's meaningless, big fella.
boy, do I have a worldview for you.
I'm saying the cure isn't the end all be all answer of saving the world, because there's still struggles. It's not that the world's saved. You're just you're making people's lives easier to for the virus itself.
Yeah,
I also think that like it's probably important to remember that we're playing it from an outside perspective, and if you're in Joel's mind and you're like, hey, Ellie's here, she happens to be immune, she might be the only immune person that I've met, but I genuinely care for her, I want to save her. He doesn't know that there might not be other immune people, etc., or they might not be able to replicate what got her immune to start with. So yeah, I think that in terms of him shooting up the hospital, I'm like,
which you don't have to do, by the way. All you have to do is kill the one doctor.
Yeah, just sneak through.
So I have a hang up about that line of thinking, right? That line of thinking is there might be others like Ellie, but we know that in order to synthesize the vaccine, we have to kill Ellie. So all you're saying is, I don't want Ellie to die, but I'm totally fine with someone else's Ellie dying in that situation.
Yes. Because that situation...
Just unequivocally? Yeah, okay, fine.
Yeah, right, because sure. Quite literally, yes. Because if you're Joel in that situation...
I don't know them, so why do they matter?
Yeah, like if you're Joel in that situation, you don't care. Like that could be someone that's not 14 years old. That could be someone that was 40. But that may even be dying or whatever.
Could be killing babies here, all right, fellas?
Yeah, all right, no worries. From Joel's perspective, as long as it's not Ellie, it doesn't matter. That's the thing. So yeah, I think that
it's the
I'm so torn about the ending.
Yeah, it is the connection. That's why I really think the story that they told was really good. And whether you personally agree with Joel or don't agree with him, I think it is still a good ending to that story.
That's a very good ending.
Yeah, and the way they tell it as well is fantastic. And it is a very good way of experiencing the story as well. Like it's probably one of the very few. Oh, it's coming out more and more about video games are a storytelling medium, and this is one of the few games to do it right. And The Last of Us #2 does it even better.
So there was a friend of the podcast, Tom. I was discussing with him how. So to me, I found that after when he shot Marlene. And I don't know if he shoots her on every playthrough, but he shot her on mine, and then he walked out of the hospital. To me, that should have been the end of the game, or Ellie waking up in the car. I didn't like the extra part. I didn't think it added anything to the story to have the extra part.
I don't like what the sequel does with that.
Right. So what do you think, Stephen and Patrick? Do you think that the extra part actually added anything after the hospital, or?
Which is the extra part is the one
when they're looking over Tommy's place.
Yeah, where Ellie asks it. Yeah, where Ellie asks it. Are you lying to me, or was there really nothing we could do?
Yeah, no, I thought that was good because Ellie probably is like, oh, I went into this place and I was put asleep, and then when we left, I was in the car. Like, she's probably like, okay, someone doesn't up. Yeah, like, where am I? So she probably does have that niggling thought in the back of her mind, and it probably sort of sets that Joel was willing to like essentially sell his soul and lie to Ellie to be like, look, you're the most important thing. Like he'd rather damn the human race than see Ellie go.
Yeah. Okay.
But I can see why you don't like it though.
So from my perspective and what I tried to explain to Tom was that to me, knowing what I know that there was a second game and what it focuses around, I was like, this is just setting up a sequel. And that's all I saw it as. I didn't see it as any connection or character building or anything. I just saw it, oh, look, they're setting up a sequel. Just money making. And I think that was probably the wrong opinion.
At all back when the game came out, because so many people... It was like a big discussion point of like, this is the perfect way to end the game, because it's like, it's open-ended on if you want to believe that Ellie believes him or if she thinks he's bullshitting, but she's willing to go with the lie. And I think that openness to that question is what made that ending really effective.
Yeah, and don't forget, like when it came out originally in like 2012, I didn't think when it came out they were like, oh yeah, we're doing a sequel straight away. I think they made the decision quite some time.
Yeah, they made the decision quite some time afterwards because they were going into Uncharted 4 next.
Now that's a good game. Not a good story,
both are good.
But
Both are good. Oh, as in both like The Last of Us and Uncharted 4, right? Gotcha.
Yeah, no, I just mean
both of the Uncharted's only 2 and 4.
Well, also true, but I mean, like we're talking about Last of Us, and it's like, and now Uncharted 4 is a good game. It's like, yeah, but so was Last of Us Part 1. Hold up.
Yeah.
yeah,
so do we want to wrap it up because I have closing thoughts?
Yeah, well, I was going TLDR, same as Steve. Closing thoughts.
Don't let Patrick answer the question.
Yeah, no. For some reason, I thought Patrick had. Sorry.
TLDR is same as Steve. To slightly expand on it, I've started growing really jaded when
Started growing mushrooms.
At the human race.
Sorry, go on.
similar. When any piece of media specifically leaves the cliffhanger on a high tension moment. And the reason I say that is because whenever they come back to do a sequel, that is the first thing they have to address. And I cannot think of media that comes back to address a high tension point that wasn't addressed in the first part of whatever, series, show, game, whatever, that it doesn't feel like they just had to tie it off and then continue with a new arc. Which is why to have the tension break of them actually making it further away from the hospital and looking out over New Hope or whatever Tommy's little village is called.
Jackson.
Didn't they give it some? Maybe it was just Jackson. I thought they gave it like some like
Did they just keep calling it Jackson?
Yeah, they keep calling it Jackson.
Probably is Jackson. I might be confusing that with something else. Anyway,
Star Wars: A New Hope.
But the point being, I much prefer them. I don't mind that they have an ambiguous ending. I think that leaves a lot of discussion and things. What I don't like is if they just make it out of the hospital and you're still kind of reeling from all that decision making that took place, and then they just cut you off. Because then, let's say they never make a sequel. Fine, I guess it, it's just left as an open-ended cliffhanger. But as soon as they announce that there is a sequel, if that's where they ended the game, you know that the first 30 minutes to an hour, or an hour of gameplay somewhere in there, is going to have to be dedicated to the immediate aftermath of the decisions made of Part 1. And that's almost made entirely in isolation compared to what writers and directors and things want to do with new stories and new arcs and things in whatever they do for Part 2. So I'd much prefer a lower tension ending point that can still be ambiguous than a will they, won't they, high stakes cliffhanger for the sake of it being a cliffhanger. So I'm much more in favor of them doing what they did with ending it at Jackson rather than at the hospital.
I really
thoughts?
Don't think so. I think shooting Marlene and going, you'll just come after her and shooting her was enough of an ending that it was like, they're fine. Or even in the car when they're driving away, it's like it's over. I don't think seeing the village added anything.
How do you hook that into Part 2 then? So Part 2 starts when they're in Jackson, right? They've already made it back. There's like a fairly low stakes. They're kind of safe. They're kind of, life has moved on. If you just end the game where you've shot Marlene and walked out of the hospital, how do you then tie that into a Part 2? Exactly
the way you did Part 2, where you start in Jackson. There's no need to tie it in. There's absolutely none. Because 5 years have passed. There's nothing changed. You don't see yourself walking into Jackson and being like, all right, I'm going to live in this house. And Joel's like, I'm going to live in this house. Like, nothing's changed. It's still exactly 5 years has passed, basically, or 4 years, I think it is at the start of the game. And you're in Jackson.
I think without that Jackson part, though, you don't know where they end up at the end of The Last of Us 1, because also don't forget, the Jackson part of the first game is before the winter section. It's even before the university section. So that's like the halfway point of the game. You've probably forgotten that place exists by that point.
I definitely didn't. And they said multiple times throughout the story, like, oh, we'll just go back to Tommy's after this. Like, yeah, we'll go back and we'll
go back to Tommy's. Yeah,
they said it multiple times.
Okay, yeah, it's been so long, I probably forgot that they do bring it up a lot.
What were you going to say, Steve?
Oh no, I'm just saying like we should probably end it here because there's a couple of things that into The Last of Us Part 2 that I really want Josh to get into, because there's like a reoccurring theme that I'm busting to say.
I think I know what you're talking about because I've experienced some of it, but we'll talk about it later.
Yeah, finish the whole story of The Last of Us Part 2, because I thought it was going probably where you are. Then you finish it, and it's like, oh, okay, it did that. But at the same time, it's great.
I'm willing to leave it here because we're at 40 minutes for this discussion, which I think has been really good, actually. But my closing thoughts, I do not think with any number of writers, direction, anything else, that you can go straight into part 2 of Last of Us without backpedaling or explaining in some way how the events of Last of Us Part 1 unfolded, with the change in pace and scene and placement of the characters in their various arcs. And that's my closing thought. So I'm glad they did the Jackson ending. 10 out of 10 game for me. Fucking love it. Gustavo Santabella is fantastic at the music design. All that good shit. I'm pretty sure I brought this up before. Josh, you said that you had closing thoughts, so we'll finish it with you. Saif, what were your closing thoughts?
For The Last of Us 1?
Yes.
It's a pretty great game, same as before. Like, I played it so much, I got to Platinum, and that made me kind of sick of The Last of Us for a while. I'm of the opinion that a sequel didn't need to happen, and if they did do a sequel, that they should have done a different group of characters than Joel and Ellie again. I felt like The Last of Us 1...
Let's be fair, it's just Ellie.
Yeah. True. But yeah, no, I thought the first game ended so perfectly with that, with the way it did end, like with Ellie's questioning of Joel and everything, that I was satisfied where it ended, and I don't know, same. Like, I'm still in the place where I'm like, that ending was so perfect, and I feel like I don't need a 2, that I haven't been compelled to go and play 2. Like, I'm considering it now only because we've been doing this podcast, and Steve and Josh have been mentioning it every week.
And because, it's so good. People refuse to play part 2 at the same time, so we have to keep drip feeding the idea that we're going to get to a discussion.
I'm not going to do it in a way that's like, oh yeah, delay it another week. I won't get to it. So yeah, I probably won't get to it for ages anyway. I'm still not it's still not at a price point that I'd pay for it. I'll wait for a sale.
Steve, your closing thoughts.
It's great. I've said it a million times. I'll say it again.
Hey, there we go. Nice and short. Josh, your closing
thoughts. Mine are going to be a little bit long because we sort of dived into the questions rather than my overall impressions of the game. So I just want to go through that very quickly.
Sorry for trying to make it engaging conversation.
Oh, no, it was engaging conversation. It's just there's a few things that I really want to mention that shocked me. So I picked up this game as a free game on the PS5 collection, and I was like, I guess I'll give it a go. I didn't expect to like it. I just expected that it was a generic zombie game. I knew nothing really about it. To pick up the game and then to go an hour in and have the emotional turmoil that you already start with when his daughter dies, and then to have like Tess die and everything, and then to meet Ellie, I just thought that it was like it was engaging enough to keep me hooked, and then the actual relationship with Ellie and Joel was written well enough that it was like reading a book. And that's not something I can say with every game. It was really, really well written, and I didn't expect to like it at all, and I ended up playing it in like 3 days. I think that everything it does, for the most part, is fairly simplistic. Even the story, at its core, it's a zombie story, and it's like basically a father-daughter story. But they executed it extremely well, to the point where you cared about almost every character, or you even felt bad for killing some of the characters that you kill in that story. Like, they did it extremely, extremely well. The world design itself, I didn't expect to be as good as what it was. I did play the remastered version, but even at its time, that would have been gorgeous on the regular version.
It was.
It looks really good.
It is.
Yeah, it still is. Yeah,
it pushed the PS3 to its limits.
Yeah. I mean, I looked at this thinking it was a PS4 game. You know, to think it was a PS3 game is impressive. Even playing it on the PS5, like, it still looks good even for some of the PS5 games that I've played. So it, like, in not even just like this is like really well, just good models or the textures are great, whatever. Like, just the actual way that the world is put together, and even though it's quite linear, the simplistic pathways are full of hidden things and like things that you could just find, or there'll be one door sideways that there'll be a collectible in or whatever. and all of that is just done it really, really, really well. So, and all of it added to the story. The music added to the story. The world design added to the story. The areas that you were going through and the change in seasons, all of that really just drove home just how long and arduous the journey was, and just really made you feel for those characters. So I just think the game was amazing. And I didn't expect to like it. I expected it to be like a 3 out of 10. It's like a solid 9 at least. So yeah, that's basically all I want to say.
Cool. Shout out to Bill. Just speaking of random characters.
I actually quite liked him.
Yeah, he's a good character. He's a good character.
I like Bill.
Bill the
Yeah,
gay
cool.
icon.
Yeah.
Oh my god, yeah, he was.
I wouldn't say icon.
I wouldn't say icon, but yeah.
And with that, thank you to everyone for the first of the Last of Us of the Part 1 Fast Travel Last of Us Part 1 discussions.
The Fast of Us.
No,
The
that's the
first
spin-off
of
that's
the-
coming after The Last of Us 3, but they still got to give us uncarded.
The first of the Last of Us Part 1 Fastest Travelist Loungist discussions here on FTL.
So is
thank you
anyone
for
else having a stroke listening to this audience question?
Thank you for all that. That means we've finished round one for this week, and we get to move on to part 2, which is, of course, the news. And starting us off, a headline that I actually do not understand, a Summer Game Fest 2022 showcase event set for June. I don't understand this because it sounds like it's showcasing things that have already come out and people know are good. Is that the right beat on this? I don't understand why this is a thing. Someone explain this to me.
No, this is basically Jeff Keighley coming in going, hey, you guys know
Enough
that
said.
E3 is dead, right? That means I get to do my E3 instead.
I love Jeff Keighley.
So it's just somehow worse.
We have an article from Gematsu, but they hold up, maybe I just misread this. Summerfest 2021's showcase was stuff from the previous year. So maybe we actually will get some interesting stuff for the 2022 showcase.
Interesting to me is that they, in a teaser trailer that they showed for this, they showed a little clip of the new Sonic game, which means I have to pay attention to this event.
In case it ties in with the movie?
No, just because the new Sonic game is supposed to still be coming out this year and they've shown nothing for it.
Oh yeah, it's the collection that no one wanted, right?
No, the open world one that everyone
Yeah,
wants.
the one that looks really good.
It's go on, fellas. Let's not put the Sonic before the Hedgehog. It's the Sonic game. It's going to be garbage. Name the
Okay,
last
now I'm
good
having a
Sonic.
stroke.
Name the last good Sonic game in 20 years.
Sonic Mania.
Sonic Generations.
Those are literally just repeats of the last games.
Sonic Mania was not a repeat of the last game. What do you mean?
It's like 70%
Sonic
reused zones.
06. I
Alright,
said
I
it.
said we need a new host.
You're out, big fella.
Sonic Forces was clearly the best game.
Sonic and the Black Knight. Now that's a game.
That is
Oh,
a
I've-
game. And it's
I've
also
heard-
it's also a banging OST.
They all have.
I've heard
good
some
soundtracks.
people are actually quite partial to. Is it Unleashed?
Yeah, Unleash is art.
Yeah.
It's not good. It's so not. Oh, it doesn't matter. We can move
Anyway,
on.
This
anything
man
else
doesn't
from
like
the-
baby's first God of War.
I hate that you're referring it like that because it's so accurate. All right, let's move on.
Actually, I forgot to chuck this into the Last of Us Part 1 chat, but I really enjoy the number of times where I watch Josh play and I look at where he's up to and I go, oh, you're up to that section. And then
Oh,
Josh
stop
just shits
doing that
himself.
to me, man. I was like, stop saying it like that. And then, oh man, there's so many parts that he's like breaking me down. And then there was like him and someone else in the chat like discussing something and then sending memes about where I'm about to be going, I remember that part. And I'm like, stop that. Like, cool,
Man,
I'm not stressed enough.
That part, my therapist really likes to delve into for my source of trauma. Anyway, I just had to get that dig back in there. Anything else interesting for the 2022 showcase we should look forward to, Seth?
Not that I noticed really. The trailer kind of had a mix of sizzle reel of stuff that we've already seen, like in depth or just came out like Tiny Tina, and I guess if you're excited about the what's his name in The Lord of the Rings, Gollum.
Yeah,
That
that's
actually looks like a good game though.
Eh.
Yeah, they showed it like a little snippet of Gollum, so that game will probably show up there. If it's going to be like an E3 replacement, then I expect a few big things to show up there.
Hmm.
Also, fun fact, they're going to be showing the event in IMAX theaters.
Yeah, I think that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I saw that. That's
We're getting the tickets,
odd.
fellas.
There is also a like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle section, and I think there's like a tiny bit of a new Genshin character. So yeah, there'll be stuff.
Anyway,
I guess I might as well tie it in now as well.
Pay attention to that. Thank you for that, Saif.
No.
Finish your thought.
Yeah. To tie into it, I guess. With this next news article is that Naoki Yoshida is saying that the Final Fantasy 16's latest trailer is already complete and should be coming soon. So maybe that'll show up at the Keighley showcase.
Oh, I'd be so keen to see more on that game.
At Keel 3?
Yeah, at Keel 3.
Key 3?
Keighley 3.
Keighley 3? I like that. Heard it here first, guys.
I hate this.
But also while saying that while also saying that the trailer's done and ready to be showcased, he also confirmed that the game is complete in quotation marks. I'm guessing that means like they've got all their assets and deliveries in. It's like feature complete now. It's just they're in a big polish and make sure the game's playable state sort of development phase now. So
they still haven't said what it's releasing on, have they?
Only PlayStation 5 at the moment.
5.
It is only PlayStation 5?
Only
okay.
Xbox.
It's probably PlayStation 5 and PC at launch, and then Xbox a year later. That's my guess anyway.
Should mention that this is thanks to an article from Gematsu.
Yes, also from Gematsu. And all this information is coming from a live stream that was celebrating the Nier and Final Fantasy 14 mobile game crossover.
How do they go from something so bad to something so good?
The Nier producer was like on stage with Yoshida, and he just put him on the spot, asking him Final Fantasy 16 questions.
Nice,
because that's the only way we get Final Fantasy 16 answers now. Also, another fun fact. We mentioned in an earlier episode that there were all those Final Fantasy shirts, and we got a little bit of new information from those.
Wasn't that last episode? No, Josh was here 2 episodes ago.
Yeah.
Talking about the ones for Uniqlo?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all horrible.
Yeah, they are. Yoshida was like, oh, hey, the game's almost done sort of information. Apparently, he got in trouble from Square Enix North America for that interview. Like, they weren't happy with him talking about the game in such a open way.
So if you minted that review and put it on the blockchain, would Square Enix pay $200 million for it instead?
Done, I'm sold, on my way.
You're a week too late for that.
I know, but it still hurts.
I do believe that is the only copy of the interview in existence, right? Once it goes into the blockchain, there's absolutely no way to make a copy for yourself.
Oh, what's that? I hit Control-C, Control-V on all the text.
Right-click, save as, ha ha ha.
Your move, Square Enix. Looking forward to Bullen's Wonderworld sequel, you nerd. Any Final Fantasy 16? I'm just going to say any final thoughts on Final Fantasy 16. Anything else you want to add on that article?
I really hope... No, nothing really. I just really hope that this trailer does show up at the Keighley Awards or soon, because it'd be nice to hear about the game, because it's been like a year and a half now.
As long as they say, like, it's not Final Fantasy 15, I'll be happy.
Right, it is Final Fantasy. Yeah, because Final Fantasy 15 is perfect. There's no need to reinvent the wheel, big fella? Hey, got him.
I got a way to upset Josh right now as well. It's got the Devil May Cry combat designer on it.
Oh god, it's shit. No, I don't want to play it anymore. No. I don't want to juggle my enemies for 45 minutes to get a rank that's not as high as it can possibly be, because I'm still on my first playthrough.
Triple S plus,
just
baby.
get good.
Well, if you don't like that Final Fantasy, let me tell you, there are 15 others that you can play through.
Let's not count 15.
There's 14 others you can play
through. Anyway, yeah, thank you for that. We'll have to see if you are right. Next up on the list, we have more news about the WWE RPG game, which...
more news. This is the first news we're hearing about this.
That's what I thought. But
you're getting it mixed up with that. It was like an RPG wrestler, like 2D pixel game.
RPG.
Yeah, which there seems to be a remarkable amount of these days.
Yeah, it's probably because that other one had like classic WWF wrestlers referenced, or just straight up in it.
You're right. That's exactly what it was.
But yeah, hot off the heels of all the wrestling simulate. Hot off the heels of all the wrestling simulators being absolute dog shit, Stephanie McMahon has confirmed that they have a WWE RPG in the works. That's all we know right now, but that's an insane thing to think about.
So, would you prefer? I need to ask this. Would you prefer to play as one of the WWE wrestlers and you go around and class-based stuff, or would you rather take the Pokemon approach and just catch other wrestlers out in the wild?
Catch other wrestlers.
That sounds amazing.
That
I would
does
100%
sound
play a
amazing, but
Pokemon wrestling game.
I want to be my own creator character and just speed up other wrestlers.
I just want to have Vince McMahon chase me doing the son of a bitch. Where are they? Where are they? Where is he? So good.
And I like that also means that we have John Cena as Kecleon.
No,
Yes, Kecleon. Yeah.
John Cena needs to be a mythical Pokemon.
But real question. Which wrestler's gonna be Mr. Mime that may or may not fuck my mom?
I mean, Kane wears makeup. And he's also just as horrifying.
I'll be honest with you, fellas. I'm not that much into wrestling. This is all these funny jokes are being lost on me.
It's alright. I stopped paying attention to it in like 2009. So
is the Undertaker still gone? Is Stone Cold
he's
Steve
retired,
Austin?
thankfully.
Oh, okay.
gone into his final coffin.
If you pick a starter, do you get the starter's theme music? In which case, can I pick John Cena?
No,
just
as
for
I
the
said
prank
before,
call.
John Cena is a mythical Pokemon.
Yeah, can I randomize my starts so that I get the mythical Pokemon start?
Yeah. The problem is, what if you get a John Cena that isn't perfect stats? Do you just like restart your Nuzlocke?
What do you mean?
Timid John Cena.
What do you mean, John Cena without perfect stats? He's always perfect.
Is
John
that
Cena,
gonna be-
baby. If you want to go on the podcast, you're in. We'll get you in.
You can
Can you
take
imagine
Josh's
a jolly
spot.
John Cena, just high speed?
I'm sure we can work out a schedule of a day Josh isn't on board, then we can have John Cena on.
High speed,
Yeah, I can
low
pencil that
special
in for you.
attack, jolly John Cena coming in hot.
Jesus.
Oh my god.
What was his ability be? Was his ability be camouflage or something? Or
Yes.
What do you
No, it'd
Yes.
still be
Because you can't see him.
it'd still be like Swarm or Blaze or Torrent
What
or
do you
something.
mean? As if it's not pressure.
Yeah, it's still it's still a low HP stab boost.
Is there a Pokemon ability that reduces accuracy?
There is that. But it
yeah,
boosts
well,
damage or
there's-
something.
There's
called?
hustle, but it lowers your
Hustle.
accuracy.
Yes, Hustle
Yeah,
would be
Hustle.
Would be
Yeah,
John
you good
Cena's.
That would be perfect.
you could also do no
But
guard
no,
or guards.
Seth, the problem, no guard. Someone's dying. It might be me. Beast boost, John Cena.
Oh my god.
All right, final question before we move on. Is the Ditto also a wrestler?
No, I have one more question. Do you think there's any special attack type wrestlers?
I think Rey
Undertaker.
Mysterio would be a special type. Would be a special type attacker.
Yeah, the Undertaker would be a ghost type.
True.
Yeah, I don't get it.
No, don't worry.
Anyway, let's skip ahead. Let's press our fast
I like that
forward
this is
button.
the one time we're actually talking about like a vague thing of sport, and Steven's like, I don't get
It's
it.
the footy's on
I love
Thursday.
how we've mentioned basically nothing about the WWE RPG, but just like, so if it was Pokemon, Jolly John Cena coming to an RPG near you, check it out. I'm super excited.
You've got me way hyped for this game, and it's going to be nothing like I want it to be.
It's gonna be way more fun when you get to put other wrestlers to sleep or paralyze them.
Ooh, or paralyzed. It's like when their wrestling move goes wrong
Holy
and
shit.
they break their neck or something.
And now to bring down the mood, the WWE is also looking into the metaverse and evaluating it.
No. I'm going to mint my perfect John Cena on the blockchain.
Yeah, I think this was to be. I feel like most people are going to evaluate. Like, evaluation doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to lean into it, right? It does just mean evaluation.
This is
I
at a
feel like-
financial earnings call, so you have to tell the old people in with all the money that you're looking into the things that are like big names at the moment.
Yeah,
You
I
need to
feel like
you need
quite
to
a few
mention
places are
the
gonna-
blockchain and NFTs to keep the investors on board.
Yeah, I do like that in the we should mention this is an article from Dual Shockers. Thank you to them. That they mention as a quote from Stephanie McMahon. Gaming is a priority for WWE to reach our next gen audience, with over 80% of WWE's audience self-identifying as gamers.
I'm sorry, that's a direct quote.
That is a direct
It is.
quote, yeah.
That is beautiful.
I guess we'll just have to stay tuned and be really disappointed when it's no longer just a Pokemon clone with mad ripped dudes.
Okay, but what if? Oh man, we would talk about it for weeks.
I'd pre-order that, honestly.
We'd have a spoiler cast for it, and it would come out.
Oh my god.
Damn, biggest dunk of the night. Anyway, next up on the list, we have some Arkham City news. That's not the right tab.
No, it's
No,
Gotham
you
Knights.
didn't read the article, big fella. You read the title.
Sorry.
was trying to
this
find
is
the
my
right
fault
tab.
because in the docket I wrote down all you had to do was make online Arkham City. So I'll take the fall for that.
No, it's my bad. I had a bunch of tabs open, and I read the last thing that I remember reading about this without actually just finding the article. Finally found it. Gotham Knights. We've had a PS4 and Xbox One version cancelled. Where does that leave it? PS5, Series S and X, PC still, I guess? Because this was going to be everywhere at one stage.
Yeah, except for the
PCs as
Nintendo
well.
consoles.
It's coming on the Switch, but right?
Yeah, next year for
Switch
sure.
launch title.
Gotham Knights Armored Edition.
Sweet launch title. They just don't announce a Nintendo game, they just only release it with this.
This is one that I'm quietly keeping my eye on because I'm interested in what this one's going for.
And then I saw this gameplay demo, and it's like they made all the wrong decisions for me.
Yeah, it did look kind of
I
cool,
haven't seen
but
the
now
gameplay
it's
demo
shit.
yet.
The theory, in theory, it's good.
It was
theory,
a great
everything's
idea
good.
that could have been really fun, and they're like, what if we put Destiny things into it? And I'm sitting here like, no, I don't want that. I don't want armor slots and perks on the characters. All I wanted to do was have an online Arkham game.
On the plus side, the pre-order that I'm not going to do comes with a pretty cool looking motorbike.
It does, yes.
The gameplay looks shit, but the motorbike looks pretty cool.
As far as motorbikes go, it does look very good.
It's an in-game bike, but it's a Batcycle skin.
I mean, yeah, you're not going to pre-order a game for, $100 and get a motorbike.
I would pre-order so many copies of that game.
No, I didn't know if it was like a statue or something. Like it's.
Oh, no. Not like a skin. The collector's edition is only $299.99 US, so that's right up your alley, isn't it, Steve?
That's too cheap for
Who's
me.
in?
What does it come with, but?
The deluxe edition comes with an augmented reality collectible pin, 16-page media book, exclusive Gotham City map, and 4 character statue dioramas.
I want you to know, I am so certain that 4 character statue diorama is going to be made of cardboard.
Oh, it will be.
Oh, have you guys
Maybe
seen the
plastic
Batman
if you're
Beyond
lucky.
skins for this game, by the way?
No.
I have not. I'll be quite honest with you.
Give me 1 second.
Yeah, let's pull up the thing that people can't see so that we can talk about it.
I can put it
Yo,
into...
no way.
Okay, so
you forget this is also a somewhat video podcast that I can insert images into, and I'm totally not just talking to fill the time while I look for this picture that is currently not coming up for me.
I'll fill the time. So that collector's edition you were talking about, Josh, it is $2.99 American. It is $4.99 Australian.
Oh, that's not very the exchange rate friendly.
That's
fine.
no longer chilling.
That's in my price range. I will be $500
I
for
will
a video
pre-order that
game.
momentarily.
Yeah, it's how much it's going to EB Games.
I think the only game that I've pre-ordered and not regretted that came with something was Skyrim because I wanted the cloth mat. And it was cool. It was a very cool map.
The cloth maps came with
was
all
it?
copies of the game. You didn't have to pre-order for it.
How in any way is that collector's edition worth nearly $500?
Oh, it's definitely not.
Look, inflation's hitting everybody, right? The factory in Ukraine's not doing so well.
Oh, yeah. True.
So I found the picture finally. You guys know the Batman Beyond skin, design, right? How it's like very smooth and slender and very not detailed.
I have a vague recollection of it, yes.
Here is the Batman Beyond skins for this game, where for some reason they look like Power
Deadpool.
Rangers, basically.
They do look like Power Rangers.
The picture, it does look that Batgirl is wearing a latex bodysuit with cat ears. And that's probably what it is. Let's be honest, fellas.
Why is she holding a police beat stick?
Because her dad's a cop.
Don't you know the law? Her dad's Commissioner Gordon. It's Barbara Gordon. It's before the accident, so she's not Oracle yet.
No, this is after the accident.
Bro, what
her
the fuck?
her character bio came out, and they said basically, after Gordon's death, she just trained really hard to fix her broken back.
Oh yeah, I'm sure that's how it works.
She did 5 push-ups, and that's all it took to fix her back.
Broken back from carrying the $4.99 game.
It's that image of Kim Kardashian go, get your ass up and go to work.
That AR collectible pin just allows you to see the AR where her back's not broken from paying $500 for it. Anyway, I think it's probably we're going to leave discussion on that.
Gameplay looked bad though.
Actually, there's one more thing I want to point out for Gotham Knights. Yeah, sorry,
right.
but this is just like a question for you, Patrick, because like you said, you were keeping an eye out, like kind of keeping an eye out on this game. What do you think of them saying that this isn't a sequel to the Arkham games? This is a brand new universe, but still in this universe, Batman is dead. So it could have been a sequel to Arkham Knight.
It sounds like
but
a
it's
sequel.
not.
Was Batman dead because of all the bugs that released in the last game that they tried to make?
Only in the PC version.
No.
It was unplayable on the PC version.
He got drowned by all the 9 and 10 out of 10s they put on that fucking Arkham City
Box art is beautiful.
Yeah.
that's the game of the year, where it's basically like Squidward in that episode of SpongeBob where everything he says just turns into words in the universe. That's an existence I would hate, and I can't help but feel like that's why he died.
Squidward or Batman?
Both.
Squidward's okay, right?
We're going to add another body to that list if you don't shut up, Steve. Next up on the list, I'm going to jump over the Monster Hunter news because I will talk about that.
Yeah, that'll be our longest part.
Longer.
You're breaking my heart. I was so ready to start yelling about how good it was. All right,
sorry,
skip
man.
it.
I'll take it now.
Gotta hold off. If you wanna stick around and listen to us talk about Monster Hunter, stay on the line for another 10 probably minutes.
Give it 2.
We're
There's not
going to be
much to say
talking about
here.
FIFA for 10 minutes? Please
Hey,
no.
this is a big deal, okay?
You played
this is an
FIFA
article-
earlier this week.
Yeah,
You should
I
have a
played,
lot to say about this.
I played 2 matches and was like, this is why it was free.
Yes, the perfect Game Pass game.
It was on PlayStation, but
This
Yes, I know.
is news that has been reported quite widely, actually, but this is an article brought to us by Wired. We finally have a split. Biggest gargantuan dad went out for cigarettes divorce moment. EA Sports and FIFA finally splitting up after 30 years. They say, don't worry, they'll still get together and see the kids on birthdays and special events, but EA just wanted to, see other options, open up the relationship a bit.
I think it was more FIFA's side of things, but yeah.
Yeah,
$1 billion.
brought out the big guns and said, we're not happy with the quality, so anything with the FIFA name has to be of a certain quality.
I thought it was the other way. I thought it was that EA wanted to start looking at pulling in other third-party groups. Was that after FIFA announced that they wanted to split?
Yeah, that would have been after.
Oh, okay.
The FIFA name alone sold so much for EA that losing it for any reason would have been a hit for them.
Well,
I like this quote from the article. Ready?
Go.
Basically, what we get from FIFA is a non-World Cup year is 4 letters on the front of a box in a world where most people don't even see the box anymore because they buy the game digitally. Oofed. That's spicy. It's like it's them being like, fuck off, FIFA. We're not paying you this much every single year.
Damn.
Yeah, a lot of people buy FIFA every year. It's the same fucking
It's
game.
one of the biggest sellers in the European market on PlayStation every year.
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
There's an easy test to see if FIFA's the dominant one. Who here has played any FIFA game ever?
I played one on the PS1.
I played a couple.
I did
this
too.
week.
Yeah. Good old FIFA 99.
I had one for the Nintendo 64. Well, a couple of my mates play it, so then when they're all playing it, I'll play it, and then I get creamed, and I'm like, okay, I don't want to play anymore. It's quite fun, like, watching them carry on, because if, like, you get beaten by, like, more than 5 points, you have to make a post on social media and be like, look, I apologize, I'm shit. Actually quite
do you
funny.
Play that rule, huh?
Yeah.
Some people play that rule.
Oof.
It's pretty funny.
Follow-up question. Who here has played Pro Evolution Soccer?
I
No.
played Pro Evolution Soccer.
I know the name, but I haven't. Also, fuck Konami.
It was on. It was one of the free games on Xbox like 10 years ago, so I've played it.
I don't know if PES is still going as a series, but those were always the two. Whenever I saw.
To be fair,
FIFA
Konami hasn't made a game in like
those two
10
next to each
years, so it's probably very likely that it isn't.
Hey, look, Konami used to make games. Now they make pachinko machines. That's all they do.
Oh,
I think
hold
it's the
on.
circle of life.
They made PES Mobile 2021.
Sorry, what?
Hey,
Oh,
there
wait,
we
soccer.
go.
I was thinking PES dispensers. I was like, it's a PES dispenser mobile game? Like, what?
Still got gacha mechanics. It dispenses your own Pez and it's got gacha mechanics.
Credit card goes in, Pez comes out.
The last one was 2019 for Pro Evolution
so
Soccer.
I'll be honest. I do find it funny that every year someone like the head of FIFA, the brand or whatever the fuck, will stand up at like E3 or whatever. I guess Kiel E3 now, and well, maybe not anymore, but talk about how this year it's fucking. You notice that thing in marketing where every year has to be the best thing ever. Like, yeah, I know that we stood up on the stage and said that last year's game was the best game ever, but I've come here to tell you that was a lie. This year's game is the best game ever. We've got more simulations, and people do more things with their feet, and the ball has more spin, and you're like, cool, I still play like shit, and when I press circle, I expect them to kick the ball really hard. Everything else just seems like fluff.
Sorry,
Yeah,
I just
pretty
need to insert in that while you were going through all of that, I wanted to chime in that not only does the ball have ball physics, but so do the players.
But no, I totally understand why there would be an issue with people being like, man, why is it that like the quality of FIFA games is completely stagnated for the last, I don't know, pick a number of years.
20 years.
I'm not saying we're looking for, Soccer 2, like a video game or anything, but
We already have Soccer 2. It's called Rocket League.
True. Definitely feels very cash grabby and very big marketing thing. Every year is the best year ever, even though you know that next year is going to be better than the current year, because otherwise, what are you doing?
Sorry, just to be clear, Patrick, are you saying that a company like EA might involve in some kind of predatory practices, especially in the European market where they may or may not be being sued for predatory practices? I don't know, man. That doesn't sound right to me.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Something's not adding up here.
Yeah.
I would like to apologize for my co-host's slanderous insinuation on the part of EA. I, for one, am a big fan of FIFA, the franchise, and particularly their ultimate football team that causes me and my family to go hungry every month for trying to get Diego Maradona as a card, even though that's no longer possible due to ongoing legal disputes between his family and EA Sports in general. So with that, any other thoughts on this? I find it kind of funny, honestly.
I have something we need to add in right before the Monster Hunter stuff. Sorry. Something breaking just happened.
Well, there's a few
Are they
stories
making
left,
a Rayman Origins 2? Because then I will backtrack my statement on EA.
That's Ubisoft.
Oh, is it usually? Oh,
Yeah,
God, I got that
it is
confused.
actually.
Yeah, unlucky.
That's
Oh,
the
yeah,
other,
hasn't
that's
made
the other
anything good in
dog
so
shit
long.
company.
Yeah, look, they're basically the same.
Yeah, just one's French.
What are you trying to say,
Okay.
big fella?
Get him out of here. Get him out of here.
That's their only. That's the only thing that separates them. One is French, one is American.
Anyway, what was the breaking news, Saif?
So breaking news from Bethesda. I'm sorry, lads, but they've just announced that they've come to the decision to delay the launches of Redfall and Starfield to the first half of 2023.
I'm
God
shocked.
damn it.
The teams
Are we
that
surprised?
Everyone knew this.
yeah, everyone knew this. It's not shocking in the least, but the announcement is out now.
There was still hope. Oh well.
We'll still start.
I'd rather a complete game.
Yeah. I will see it. Hopefully, it's just as good as Cyberpunk 2077. That's fine now, right?
So
Oh, man,
that
that's
is
digging a
steep
shallow grave.
goal.
Yeah.
Stop it! It's already dead.
I don't know.
I have two things
Arcane does good games, so whatever they're doing is exciting.
Great series too.
We need to play those.
I need to watch
I have
that.
two things that I want to
That's what I mean.
mention
Watching
that are not quite news, that I just thought were interesting tidbits that popped up on my social feed today.
Alright, go on.
One is that
I'll allow
yesterday was the 17th anniversary of the Leroy Jenkins video, which is a classic.
I feel very old. I did not need to know that. You
I
ruined
feel
my day.
so old, yeah.
Jenkins.
You don't start feeling gold about it until it breaks 20.
I mean, so on the other hand of that,
I'm feeling it at 17.
So speaking of turning 20, it was the 24th anniversary of the Western release of Gran Turismo today.
I don't know. You don't really feel that one until it turns 30.
I don't know, man. I like the fact that
cars have always existed. Who cares?
Cars the movie or Cars the brand?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, cool. Monster Hunter time.
I'm gonna have a quick nap. Wake me up when we've got the audience question.
Everyone just ditch him. It'll make the podcast shorter.
So we hinted at it last week. We had a fairly big news drop. The 10th of May news drop for Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak. I, as much as I wanted to stay up and watch it live, was not willing to sacrifice a productive day the next day, so could not stay up till 2 a.m. for it to start, and then the presumably hour or so it took to deliver the news after that.
And then the 2 hours after that's just filled with excitement talking about with everyone that'll listen.
Yep,
and then people who won't as well.
But we got news. Oh man,
Wait. But before we dig into this, did we all watch the trailer? Did you watch it, Stephen?
No.
Oh.
He said to wake him up when Monster Hunter World 2 gets announced.
Yeah, fair, really.
Yeah, see, yeah, I don't know my Monster Hunter. Your sun breaks and your dawn rises. Okay, sorry, continue.
It's just basically a Twilight franchise at this point.
Ooh, yeah.
Damn. I'm gonna need you to take that back.
I would like to, but it's not in my nature.
Yeah,
sorry, man. True. I got to revoke your Monster Hunter pass.
Oh no, that's the only pass I had left.
Return to the guild hall and collect mushrooms.
What happened to your N-word pass? Did you use that already?
Okay, go on. Avoid this one.
That is... Oh.
Moving swiftly along.
God damn, Saif.
We got quite a bit of news. So, Josh, you and I are probably the most excited for this. Seth,
Excuse me?
I'm sure you're reasonably excited, but you wanted to derail us with stupid nonsense talking points. That's fine. Josh, what was your favorite part of this news drop?
Honestly, despite everything as being as cool as it is, the music for the new flagship dragon is awesome. It's so good.
Okay.
It's so fucking good. As weird as that is, because there's so much cool gameplay stuff that is in this trailer, the music for the Elder Dragon is fucking sick. It is so good.
Wait, Elder Dragon? Is this Skyrim? What the fuck?
Yes.
Go back
the
to
name
sleeping,
of
Steve.
To give a name to it, the name of the Elder Dragon is Malzeno.
Yeah, Malzeno, yeah. No, Malzeno.
Malzeno.
Which for Stevens and everyone that hasn't seen the trailer's information is basically an Elder Dragon of death, basically, and is a vampire, which is fucking cool. It is so cool. It got introduced with it like biting on a Rathalos's neck and draining the life force out of it. That is sick.
It is cool. It's kind of annoying that we're doing the same thing as Pokemon of like, you know, we can't have Elder Dragons of everything, so we're starting to overlap responsibilities.
Yeah, they kind of dug themselves an early grave with the Elder Dragon thing, though.
A little bit.
So,
like, I'm sure, you know, like Valhazak is going to get out of his little Toyota Corolla at work, and then he's going to go to his desk, and there's going to be a Malzeno at his desk, and they'll be like, hey, man, God of Death? You're like, yeah, God of Death. And they'll be like, oh, that's awkward.
Well, I think, obviously they overlap, but Valhazak was much more of around, like, death and decay, whereas this is more like life through death kind of thing. So I don't know. They are definitely overlapping catastrophes.
I also want to point out that they had 4 keywords when designing this
the
Elder Dragon.
Were excellent.
They were, but I'm going to say them from back to front because I need to end with the first one they said. So the 4 keywords are cunningness, nobility, grandeur, and my favorite one is aristocracy. That is such a fucking keyword to use for a dragon. I cannot believe it, and I love it so much.
Mind you, they were talking about this with the not only the 4 keywords of designing this dragon, but while overlaying it on concept art in a 100% serious tone. It's excellent.
I'm also taking a picture of the concept art because I'm going to put it on the video version of the podcast. But I just want you guys to look at the top right face on this picture. It's fantastic.
Oh, that is an excellent picture. It looks so sassy and gay. I love it.
It's just pointing to itself like me.
Can we also talk about the fact that this dragon has a permanent popped collar?
Yeah. That is also fantastic.
It's so cool.
I didn't get it, but anyway.
Right, so, big fan of Malzeno and the music. Saif, your favorite part of this?
The fact that they just turned Monster Hunter into Stranger of Paradise. I will not explain.
Stop this. You said it like 4 times and no one agrees with you. Stop.
Saif joins podcast discussion, tells everyone that Sunbreak is just like Stranger of Paradise, refuses to elaborate, leaves.
To be fair,
It's
I haven't
exactly
left
that,
yet.
but without the Chad moment.
I guess if you want me to explain, it's a Switch skill system. Basically, you can equip 2 loadouts before a hunt and freely swap between them to the point where they have like a dodge mechanic that switches your skill sets as you're dodging out of the way, and that just seems like such a great addition to the game.
I think it's important to note that it's a loadout for just your Switch skills, not complete loadout. So
yeah, no,
you're just
not a
swapping your
complete
Switch
loadout.
skills.
It's just for your skill sets. Yeah.
Which is still very cool because the Switch skills were very interesting but so limiting. It was like, oh, cool, I'll run this one and I guess I'll just ignore the others. So being able to have multiple of them and being able to swap them up is definitely a good change.
And being able to switch between a gun lance that flies all over the map and then a gun lance that's actually made for combat.
Yeah.
In saying
Is
that,
there
I
ever a
still
time
fly
that
around
you
the monster
wouldn't?
no matter what.
Yeah, would you not take Blast Dash for something? I don't understand.
It's just 2 skill sets with Blast Dash on them.
That'd be excellent. Well, I mean, you have 2 skills that it looked like it, at least in the trailer I don't know if you call it a trailer. I guess it's a trailer. They had like 2 slots for the 2 Switch skills, so you could keep Blast Dash and swap the other one. So, yeah. Some other stuff that they introduced that I thought was very cool, which I'm sure Patrick will agree with, because I think we mentioned this when they announced Sunbreak originally, is that the areas themselves look much more detailed and fleshed out than anything else in Rise.
The Citadel.
Yeah, basically,
The one new
the
map they're
Citadel
adding.
I'm so
it's got like
nervous
so
for
many
it,
different
though.
biomes in it.
That's
though.
the
does,
problem.
yeah.
I'm so nervous because of how good it looks, and I'm gonna go to the Citadel and be like, oh man, this space is so amazing, and then go literally anywhere else and be like, this is shit.
Yeah, you're gonna end up living in that map instead.
Yeah, probably.
And of course, they added Master Rank, so that's really good. Keen for
Yep.
that. They
Big
showed us
fan
some
of
of the
that.
new abilities of Master Rank monsters as well that were in Rise, so that's cool. We were surprised that they did that.
They often do that. G rank has often got an enhanced skill set that an enhanced move set for monsters in previous games.
It's the first time I've seen them outwardly mention and show off some of them in a trailer, though. They could have showed them off in others, but I don't remember them doing so. For them to go out of their way and be like, hey, look at this, these are cool. I was like, oh, that's cool. Also, the, what do they call it? Blood Blight, I think it was?
Bloodlight.
Yeah,
The
Blood Blight.
That's really
special.
cool, too. Although it looks like it will be hell to deal with. It's pretty cool.
Is that just like bleed damage?
Pretty much.
Ah.
But yeah, pretty much, yeah.
It's just specific for the dragon, and they described it as like you're in a life or death struggle with the dragon, and if it gets off the Blood Blight, then it powers up.
Yeah, so basically,
Okay.
like, it'll sort of take off, like, a chunk of your health and leave, like, you know how in Monster Hunter you have, like, the temporary red health that you can regenerate? You have to hit it enough times or do enough damage to the dragon that you outpace that, and then if you don't outpace it, it powers up. It absorbs
So
the
it's-
life force of the hunter, apparently.
It's a lot like, or it's a similar kind of thing to the Gormagala / Shigaru Gormagala. Oh shoot, it was the debuff. I don't remember the name of it. Where you got debuffed with it, and your health would slowly tick down. But if you did enough damage to Gormagala / Shigaru Gormagala, you would. I think Frenzy. I think it was Frenzy. Might have been called Frenzy. Where if you did enough damage to the monster, you would overcome Frenzy, and then it would increase your attack for a period of time. So it was kind of like a risk-reward thing. You could either eat a nullberry and get rid of the frenzy, or you could attack through it and then hope that you can get off enough damage to come out the other side of it, and then you've got an attack buff for another couple minutes. Really cool mechanic. Glad that they're bringing something similar back like that to Bloodblight. I am so keen that we finally get my boy Steve back. Seregios is making a return.
I thought you were going to say the Lavasioth 2.
What?
Because that's exactly what I said when I was watching the trailer. Saif.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, oh, good, we get another like magma fish that we can all ignore.
True. I on the trailer, I actually thought they were just bringing Agnactor. I thought they were bringing Agnactor in, which I don't actually remember if it's in Rise or not by default. But no, the trailer showed off Magma Almudron, which is a variant of Almudron, which is new for Rise. So that's cool. But Seregios. Seregios is an old now. Man, I feel old talking about him. First
All right,
debuted
Granddad,
in
settle down.
Monster Hunter 4, I think. And have you guys played against Seregios? Have you guys seen or heard much about this?
I don't know anything about it.
Was that the one where it threw the sharp spines at people? Was that the one that they were talking about for that?
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
okay. He looked really cool though.
Yeah,
So not
he
only
looks
is
great in
he-
the presentation, but I haven't actually fought against it in one of the older games.
Not only is he really cool because he's basically an angry pine cone in terms of design. When he gets
is that
mad,
you?
all his scales pop up. Really cool design. I really like it. But his weapons. So in all previous games where he's made an appearance, his weapons have a special thing on them because the whole way to fight Steve is a very nimble, a very fast, nimble wyvern that does bleed damage when the spines stick you. And so what they gave him was that all of the weapons that you make from his material regain their sharpness when you dodge enough.
Oh, that's cool.
That's pretty cool.
That's really cool.
Not back to full, but just a little bit. So what the really overpowered combo used to be was back in 4 Ultimate. God, I'm old. Back in 4 Ultimate, when you were at G rank, at the top end of G rank, you could get a fully upgraded Seregios horn, which one of the songs that it could play was earplugs. No, not earplugs. Stamina reduction. Stamina negation. So your stamina never dropped. Obviously, movement speed up because it's a hunting horn. Mind's eye because it's a hunting horn. Attack up and defense up. I'm pretty sure those were the 3. But you could also imbue it with healing overcharge, which meant that damage that you did would restore your health. So you would use this horn, and because it was a Steve horn and you had infinite stamina, you would just roll constantly and whack monsters, and you would have full stamina, full health, full sharpness at all times. You never needed to put the weapon away. It was glorious.
That's so cool.
Yeah. No, the Steve weapons are sick, and I love... Seregios was a barrier monster in Monster Hunter 4, so it felt impactful when you overcame the barrier and got past him. And I've fought so many of them over my career, if that's the word for it, that I just look forward to fighting him again, because it's been a while. It's been a while since I've fought him, and I kind of miss him. He's really fun. He's a really cool monster. As we mentioned, Magma Almudron got revealed, but we also have another couple of variants. Aurora Somnicanth, an ice variant to Somnicanth, looks quite sick. We already
Hopefully
knew about,
he gets well soon.
Yeah, there we go. We already knew about Blood Orange Bishartan coming from an earlier drop. Shogun Senator, I've heard some people kind of hum and ha about. That's kind of cool that he's back. He wasn't a huge deal. He's just kind of like Crab People incarnate, King Crabman. But Astalos getting revealed as coming back is also really cool, because Astalos is a lot like Seregios. Doesn't have the same weapon effect, but just a very similar design. I really like Astalos. And I think his Japanese name is Ryzax, which I think is just cooler than Astalos.
That is really cool, yeah.
Every so often I just swap between it, 'cause, like, Ryzax and Astalos. Both great names, but yeah, I am so hyped.
Some other stuff that we haven't mentioned yet is that I assume this is going to be single player only, but you can also have followers now. So the twins are joining you with a whole bunch of others.
Yeah, these are confirmed single player quests.
They are confirmed single player now? Okay, yep, cool. So they will follow you, and you can do sort of quests for your followers to add a bit more content into the game, and each one of those has a different weapon, and I think there were 7 total.
That sounds about right, but it should also be added. These aren't just random followers. These are like story. So this is like the twins from Kimura Village and stuff. These are like story people that go with you on these quests. So kind of like when they get dropped into the Rampage, where you get to use them. You're like Elder Fugan and stuff for like a one shot. but these are slightly longer quest-driven things with these people. So yeah, really cool idea.
This is the other reason why it's similar to Stranger of Paradise, because you're getting party members coming along with your quests now.
All right, on that note.
You done?
Yeah.
Surprisingly, no.
They also showed off, like, I don't know what to call it other than, like, British people. There was like a whole bunch of like British influence on British. Their uniforms, and the British comes to Japan.
They've got no teeth.
Coming to
we're
a colony
actually going to
near
Britain. That's
we're going to Britain, basically. Yeah, that's why there's a castle and stuff.
Pokemon Sword and Shield.
Yes. No, that isn't it. Isn't that Scotland?
But the Pokemon and Sword and Shield are all wrestlers.
Pokemon Sword and Shield is the entirety of the UK.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. True.
Except for Ireland.
Ireland don't want to be part of the UK, so there's a whole discussion about that one.
Ireland is about to take over the UK, but that's world politics we can get into some other time, not on the podcast.
I'm pretty sure Ireland was actually represented in Sword and Shield. That was Balloonlia.
Balloonlia.
It's so dark. What?
It's so good, but I hate it. Anyway, yeah, so they announced that there was the followers. They look really cool. I assume they have their own quest line, and it's not just a one-off quest. The deal that they were making about it. They added a whole bunch of like sort of like British military-looking uniforms and weapons and stuff like that, and then some really weird like Power Ranger-looking shit. I don't really know what to call it, but they're those designs that I think it might have even been a pre-order bonus for the costumes. Saif might know, but they were really strange.
What's this about pre-order costumes?
Was it pre-order costumes that looked like they were like spiky Power Rangers?
Yeah, I think so. Actually, because the amiibo one is that vampire-looking costume.
The amiibo ones look very cool. They've also added the cat and so as a Palico, and I think there's a Palamute skin as well for the Monster Hunter Rise, not Monster Hunter Stories 2 people. Sorry, into Monster Hunter Rise.
There is.
Yeah. That's cool. There wasn't too much else. They just kind of showed off a whole huge amount of the new monsters, and everyone's like, Master Rank, else. Yeah. Well, I mean, it was like a 14-minute, I think, video, or 17-minute video
16.
or something like that. 16-minute video, yeah. And all of it was like jam-packed, and all of it was very good.
It was about 12 or so minutes of information for Sunbreak, and then like 3 or 4 minutes of them telling you about the product details, like how much it's going to be, how do you buy it, here's the pre-order bonuses.
Yeah, we're adding a pack to buy the 2 kind of thing, yeah.
Yeah.
But all of it was like pretty jam-packed.
The monsterhunter.com website, like for Sunbreak, is just really nice.
I haven't
actually looked at it yet.
I really like it. I'll just drop a random page, just because this is one that I prepared earlier. But I'm a massive fan of how they've done this website design.
Yeah, we can share that as well, I guess, on the socials. But that looks very good, actually. Oh, I like that a lot. Okay, right? Yeah, we don't need to talk about things that people can't see, though. But yeah, no, it looks very cool.
If you're not here for the live show, you're missing out.
One of the things as well that actually is on this website that I didn't realize from the trailer, so I might have missed it, you no longer have to wire dash in order to initiate a wall run. Thank fuck. That was the worst part of the entire game.
That is actually such a nice improvement. That's repaired.
Oh, it's so much better. Oh, I think I complained about it multiple times.
How do you feel that's premium DLC?
I don't care. As long as it's fixed. It's better than it never being fixed.
I'm going to buy it, but it's going to be really funny if that's not like... Because they are doing... We spoke about this ages ago now. We are wrapping up this discussion, I swear. Sorry, Steve. They talked about this ages ago, where there are a lot of just little improvements and bits and pieces coming with the launch of Sunbreak, even if you don't buy Sunbreak itself. And so something
same
like
thing happened for Iceborne with World.
Yes,
so.
It did. But something like improved wall running, I think would be hilarious if it was specifically linked to buying Sunbreak.
God, I would hate that so much, though. I would be annoyed, but it's still Monster Hunter, so I wouldn't be that annoyed. Like, I'm going to buy it regardless.
Yeah, sorry, I've already pre-ordered
Patrick, on this page, something that we talked about in an earlier episode that we can now, like, talk about properly because it's been officially shown is, remember that clip we were talking about of the T-Rex getting pulled into a wall?
It looks so good.
Yeah, that's being shown to be, like, a new bug that you can pick up called the
Marionette
Spiders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's like just a follow up from like 10 episodes ago. It seems like a bug you can pick up on the field and then attach it to a monster to pull it somewhere.
They've actually added a whole bunch of new helpers.
So keen for Sunbreak, man. Oh,
I hope everyone's ready to hear us talk about it for 3 weeks.
When does it come out? Sorry.
That's all I'm going to be playing for 3 weeks.
June shoot.
I think it was 24th,
June shoot.
wasn't it? Hang on.
When I put a shoe on, what?
Let me double check. I'm pretty sure it was 24th.
Coming June 30.
June 30. Oh man, I was hoping it was earlier. Apparently.
Anyway,
Damn.
I think that's pretty well wrapped up the news. Anything else you want to add, Seth?
Now that Monster Hunter is confirmed to be a big fan of Stranger of Paradise, I think I win our Hypotheticals podcast.
What?
I know where you live, mate.
Are you having a stroke? What are you talking? What do you mean you win? I don't understand.
I don't think anyone understands what you're talking about, Seth.
You having a stroke, fella?
You know what? I looked at. I went to EB Games today while I was waiting for my doctor's appointment. Going, oh, maybe
Doesn't
there'll
even
be a
let
physical
Seth
game
explain,
sale,
just
right?
starts
No. I
talking.
want
Thanks,
to
Josh.
mention this. So, Stranger of Paradise was $100 still
Worth.
after everything it's been through for a physical copy from EB Games.
Worth.
How is that worth $100?
It's such a good game. Worth. But yeah, I was alluding to the fact that Patrick and I have joked about doing a Tiny Tina versus Stranger of Paradise podcast. If
And
there was
how-
like, it was like the 1 week where it was like Josh and Steve look like they're not showing up. Should we do that?
I am very
And,
sorry
how-
to those
how-
listeners that have to listen to that.
Yeah, me too.
It never happened
how
because Steve did show up.
That's
Yeah,
true.
no, that's what I'm
And
saying.
We
like,
also found
I'm apologizing.
that there was a ton of overlap in the end game because it was basically identical.
Yeah.
What, you mean disappointing DLC?
No
Wow.
chaos
Oh,
mode.
Stranger of
That's
Paradise
still-
hasn't had any
I'm
DLC.
still sore about that. Thanks, Josh.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Anyway, I think that brings us to the end of news for this week. Usually excited for Sunbreak. Cannot wait. Audience question for this week. I will just pull it up. There it is. So, Dan writes in. He says, "Hey Kings, me again. Thanks for your advice on games for couples / games for non-gamers. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. Basically, just talks about how amazing we are, how we save this relationship, all the usual stuff. That's fine. Cheers, Dan. My question for this week, how do you think video game culture has changed over the years, and do you think those changes have been for the better?"
Oh,
There's so much to dig into that. But do you want to hit
We
the
could do a
bonus
whole
question
episode
now
on
as
that.
well, or should
Yeah,
we wait
let's-
for after we hit to the main question?
wait, hang on. Let me just mute myself. Hang on. All right, go.
I feel like that's a bonus question for one of us in particular.
Yeah, we can hit it after the main question. So for the main question, it's so much more. Live service has become a massive thing now, and I hate that so much. Always games needing to constantly check in online, having some sort of like currency
CRM.
system or
Ugh.
like weekly rewards or weekly missions and battle passes, things to work towards, and like little keep you into the game for as long as possible by little naggy features. I hate it so much.
That's the culture of development.
That's
Do
what
you
I was
think
going to
there's
say too.
been- Do you think there's been any change in culture of how people approach games in recent years?
Well, I'd say definitely.
There's people that have gone into the side of being fans of the live service culture, that because they've got to be doing something right if people are doing it. But I feel like it's only really Fortnite that's hit that, and it's a lot of younger players that are like really into Fortnite that are into that type of live service system.
No, I'd say it's even more. It's more about on the casualization of games as a whole. Like, not just Fortnite. Like, you got your Apexes, you got your Call of Duties. You got people that were like, they only pick up
Amogus.
that too as well. Man, that's pretty sussy baka.
Remember when Fall Guys was a hit for a month?
Yeah, see,
Yep.
and you've got all of that kind of stuff where some people pick up
It's
games.
also a live service game.
Yeah.
When people pick up games casually and they only want to play either with their friends or they'll only play like for half an hour, or maybe even a couple of hours a week, which is I'm playing for a couple of hours like every time I wake up. got to get that fixed, right? So it's more about not. Some people sort of have their niche, whether it be Call of Duty or Halo or Fortnite, and they do enjoy playing it, and they probably do play it with their friends, and they probably are pretty good at it because they've put so many hours into it. Like, it's the same thing that happened with like Dota and League of Legends. Like, so many people put so many hours into that, and it was the only game that they played because all of their friends was playing it.
And you mentioned Call of Duty, and Call of Duty's been around like in that sort of headspace since, I want to say, Modern Warfare 2, maybe even earlier.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I remember me and my high school friends. Modern Warfare
1.
Yeah, it would be my high school friends used to play at lunchtime. We would play Call of Duty, like just sitting down. Like, it was wild. And I only played it because I didn't think it was a good game. Like, I hated FPSs at the time, but I only played it because all my friends were playing it.
So I'm going to mention my opinion, but I'm going to start it in a really cringe way. So like everything I say. But I think that video game culture has changed in the same way that like anime and a whole bunch of other one of those sort of like less popular cultures have changed. No. So there's the cringe, right? But in the way that, especially in the last couple of years, the consumption of digital media and the expansion of the internet, and the speed availability in general overall, has really made people consume a lot more online media and then talk about it with people, not necessarily in their physical friend groups, but then change the culture online about it as well. So you'll have like things like a Facebook page dedicated to a very particular game development, or whatever. Like, it might be a Call of Duty group or whatever. That as a concept didn't exist 6 or 7 years ago. And you wouldn't have like a Twitter account talking about one specific thing or whatever, and talking about like updates or leaks around like these one types of games. Like, the general availability like overall in the internet, and the level of people talking about that online rather than just with their physical friends has dramatically increased. So I think that's really changed the way that people address video games as a whole. Like, you wouldn't say to, like, if you said to someone like, I spent all my time playing video games 10 years ago when I was still in high school, they'd be like, why? And just kind of laugh at you. But if they said, oh, like, my hobby is playing video games to someone today, they'd be like, oh, cool. What kind of games do you play or whatever? Oh, I used to play Among Us with my friends. I used to play whatever. Wordle was another great example of a video game.
Is Wordle a video game?
It is a video game. It's as much as it doesn't fit as the trope of the video game. True. It's a video game.
Yeah.
Same as like Candy Crush. Like, the wide variety of games and just the way that they've been approached and just standardized in media all around the world has changed the way that everyone looks at them. So it's very different now compared to what it was like 5-10 years ago, even 2 years ago before the pandemic.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you're right. The pandemic did change a lot of things. And there's still a lot of like, oh, what did you get up to on the weekend? Oh, yeah, sort of just hung at home. Like, I won't say like, unless I know the person plays video games. Like, I'm not going to be out to my manager. Oh, yeah, like I was up all night playing Elden Ring, and man, that boss is shitty. And he'd look at me and be like, what the fuck are you talking about, big fella? We got work to do. I'm being polite.
Oh, you don't work here anymore.
Steven,
how do you keep getting in?
Steven, I told you, go away. You got to return your laptop. No. But you are right. Yeah, it is a lot more. I hate to say this word. It's a lot more accepting online to sort of talk with people, but at the same time, the discussion online about video games is literally,
it's pretty toxic.
You literally like, so as soon as I play a video game, I'll join the Facebook group to see some funny memes, and all it is saying, oh, if you did something this way, you didn't play the game properly. Or
are you part of out group? Ha ha ha! You bad.
It's literally, and it's like, oh, you play a game this way, well, I play a game a different way, so therefore you can't be doing it right. It's like, well, what do you mean? We're both playing the same game. How can we be doing it wrong?
You're having fun wrung.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's all it comes down to. Like, whether you see it as...
You summoned in this Radahn fight, you didn't win.
Fuck you! How are you supposed to win that fight without summoned?
Blood thing. But like, yeah, like that as a concept didn't exist a couple years back.
Yeah,
like,
it was more.
I mean, maybe like a few years back. But if you're going like 6 or 7 years back, like there wouldn't be a group, or it would be very small and just, yeah, I don't know. It's very strange to see the way that it's changed.
Yeah, and maybe that's because as society's gone more of you can say whatever you want online because you're not going to get someone punch you in the head. A lot of people online maybe deserve 1 or 2 hits.
It's working out well for this podcast so far.
I haven't been punched on this podcast yet.
Not yet. There's still time.
I just got a bunch of white powder in the mail before. Feeling a bit dizzy.
Remember to breathe in real deep.
But yeah, like you are right. Like the discussion around video games is good, and you can also see, well, look at what we're doing. We're talking about video games right now. That's good, but it's how people talk about video games is bad, and that's probably the culture and the gatekeeping is or you're not a real gamer unless you play 1,000 hours of Dark Souls 1 blindfolded with the Donkey Kong bongo drums. Like it's good because it gets people involved, but there's also the toxic top layer of elitism and gatekeeping, which is probably the negative part on it, which is what you get because more people are just getting into it.
Yeah. Even streaming is like something that like people making careers off playing games 10 years ago is not something that ever would have happened. Now I wouldn't say it's common, but there are many different examples that you can point to that just wouldn't have existed without the culture growing and adapting in the last couple of years.
Well, yeah, you look at like what kids want to be when they grow up now, and they all say like Twitch streamer or YouTuber. I remember and I will never forget until the day I die.
Back in your day?
Well, it's the most fucking cringeworthy thing I've ever done. So in year 6, we had to write down what we wanted to be when we left school.
Oh, God.
And we had to like, even.
Yeah, we had to.
You're
So
like
it's 2006. You've been asked. I think you had to draw it as well. So I drew the Nintendo logo, and I drew the picture of. I drew it on a building, and I drew me out the front of the building, like me working for Nintendo. And they put it on the overhead projector at the end of year assembly.
Oh no!
And I was like, God. I'm like, yeah, definitely going to work for Nintendo. And then
proceeded to not do anything video game related.
Video games are for fun. They're not for work. Because if you do your fun for work, it's no longer fun. It's work.
It's true.
Yeah.
I have fun at work.
Well, do you work for
You don't
Nintendo?
animate in your spare time constantly, do you? You wouldn't say that it's your primary hobby.
That is also true.
Yeah.
Look, as long as you wake up in the morning and you don't blow your brains out, that's a success.
You're doing
right?
better than
Jesus,
some.
that's a low bar, Steve.
You got to do what you got to do to
It's a
get
bar
that.
that not all of us are reaching, Patrick. Okay.
You got to make that bread somehow.
What about you, Patrick? We haven't heard from you yet.
I guess we've sort of split this into two, haven't we?
Yeah.
On the development culture, I think it has changed. I think monetary incentive is a double-edged sword because now we have games that look at the success of live service models such as Fortnite and GTA Online and other things that they can monetize the same content forever and ever until the end of time. And that becomes a sad emulation point for companies that want to try and recreate that. And it means that you get the double edge in that, on one hand, you have so much money in the industry that there are new players entering. We got innovation, that's cool. But on the other hand, you get stuff like big players that have been around for a long time, like Gearbox, going and releasing what still is shitty DLC for a fairly new game, almost entirely because they think they can get away with it for money. Because as I pointed out with previous Borderlands games, that shit just wouldn't have flown. In the previous 10 years. So double-edged sword on that one. I don't entirely know where I land. I think overall it's probably for the better because let's say every company goes to a live service model, and you could say that's kind of what the case has been. You then get a breakout one-off that does something completely different like Elden Ring, and I hope that Elden Ring does so well that it makes enough money for From Software to be worth more than live service games, because I don't want a future where every company goes, how can we do a live service game for the next title we release? And I feel like Square Enix is figuring that out now.
The ship's already gone for them. They're becoming look, don't be those guys.
Yeah. So I think overall I'm in favor of it. I think it is better as a result. On the gaming approachability side, I don't think there's a huge amount more that I can add that hasn't been said by you three, and I broadly agree with all of it. I will say that that there are new markets that didn't exist previously, things like casual games that was brought up, like mobile games for all the shit that we give them because, they're not true gamers, which they aren't, let's be real. But things like Candy Crush did are quite pivotal.
And without Candy
mobile
Crush,
game
we
space.
wouldn't have gotten the best Pokemon game, Pokemon Shuffle. So
You mean Picross, but yeah, let's get
No.
okay.
but yeah, I think gaming as like a subculture or just as its own culture is far more accepted now. I think that can only be a good thing because it's no longer niche. I think I would hope, because I've never had issues in the gaming space. I play games, I laugh at memes like everyone else. I know that there was the whole like Gamergate thing that was, what was that now, like 5 or 6 maybe longer ago, and
Something
that,
like that, yeah.
raised that raised a whole bunch of questions about whether we want the push for gaming as a culture and what that means for people that say that they are gamers, right? Like, I call myself a gamer, but I sure as fuck don't associate with that group.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, this is the mood.
So it leads to questions. I think overall it is better. I think there is still a lot of work to be done because of typically sort of lingering holdovers from how things were done in the past. I will also say that I think now, and particularly moving forwards from now, it is easier than ever to create your own video game, which is really cool. We have probably the largest volume of, I'm going to call actual indie games, not just asset rips that get, flipped on what used to be Steam Greenlight. Thank God that trash fire's been put out. But the accessibility for things like Unity or Unreal Engine or I guess those are the only 2 big ones. Like even Game Maker Studio, maybe, but people that were interested in games 20 years ago would go to university and learn to program, I guess. Like, I don't know, I wasn't there, but I assume they would learn to program, and then they would go to a game studio and just pray that they would be picked and that they would be picked up, and that was, you're now in the gaming industry. Congrats. Whereas now, people can make video games and have made video games while doing other jobs. Like, people at university can have already made a video game. People can do courses in video games. I think the accessibility, not only from consuming them, but also producing them, is a hugely underrated factor. And that I really do think is awesome, because the accessibility to produce games, I think, should be broken down as far as possible. And we get absolute gems out of nowhere, like
Stardew Valley is an excellent example.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very good example.
Everyone can point to a game that sort of came out of nowhere and is meaningful and didn't come out of a AAA studio that has been around for a huge number of years with a huge budget on top. So definitely for the better. I think there is obviously still work to be done. We're not there yet, but certainly better than it was 20 years ago, and I'm excited to see where it goes 20 years from now. I just really hope that there isn't a battle pass on every game in 20 years.
I think the biggest problem that needs
thoughts.
to be addressed is like they need to take the addictive gambling sort of features and just habitual predatory practices like logging in every day and stuff. They need to just remove those from the games. Do something. We keep pointing to it, but like what Deep Rock Galactic did, where they're like, "Hey, cool, here's a battle pass. Play it, and if you didn't unlock everything, cool, you can unlock it in the game if you want to play it later." That's it. Like, that's all it needs to be. Like, if you need to add content and then monetize that content to keep your game alive and to keep, adding funds so that you can develop your next project, do so, but don't make it predatory. It's that simple. It's crazy.
It doesn't directly address the question, but there is a really good video by Atrioc about, you can just find it on YouTube, about the ways that games monetize themselves and how there's basically 4 pillars. I'm not going to rehash the whole video. You can go and watch it. Basically, there are 4 pillars of monetization. Studios are figuring out pretty quickly that one of those pillars, the live service model, is / battle passy type model, is by far the most profitable if they can hook a few whales in at the same time. It's an interesting read. Well, watch, I guess. But yeah, it's sort of food for thought, because it's like, yeah, obviously you want there to be some sort of kickback to the studio, but do you want that on the back of loot boxing skins? Hopefully not.
Yeah, and it's the concept of whales, that like what whales are like, what 1% of a market, but like 90% of the sales.
Yeah,
and they're appealing
crazy
to such a low number of people, but they are making so much money out of it. That's like, who cares? Like, some sucker with too much money will become addicted to this game for better or worse and just spend all the money to fuck everybody else.
Yeah, gacha games in general. very bad at that.
Yeah,
I guess
my idea with with free to play games are good to a certain point. Like Pokemon Go is the one that I champion as like one of the best free to play games because you can pretty much. Well, I played. Well, not anymore. As soon as we talked about it last week, I stopped playing it because I got lazy. It started raining.
There it is.
Yeah, there we go. There it is. But it's one of those games that you don't need to put money in. You just need to play the game. Like if you're putting money in, all you're doing is completing the game faster. And even then, it really wouldn't help you that much because you've got to go out and get the Pokemon. But at the same time, there are probably other gacha games where you're like rolling for loot boxes to get like a 5-star or 6-star character or whatever. And you need to get those because they are time gated. And if you don't get it within the next 30 days, it's not coming again. And then within a year, it comes
go
back.
into the vault.
Yeah, and then a year later, it comes back. And it's like, oh yeah, returning.
Limited time.
I guess we could talk about this forever, but in general, to wrap it up, do we think it is for the better or for the worse? I would say
better.
For the better, despite everything.
Yeah, like
better, like problems, but it's better.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like, and I'm of the big opinion that like the more people that come into the sort of gaming scene, the more ideas we'll get, the more diversity of thought we'll get, and that'll lead to the better games being made.
So long as they have fun the correct way.
Yeah, and
not on the metaverse.
Yeah. What do you mean? You guys have fun playing video games? I thought we were in after the achievements.
It's just a dumb hobby to pass the time.
Welcome back to Gamers Anonymous.
Well,
it's something to hyper-focus on so that I don't have to hyper-focus on something else.
It's saying that, though, if there were no video games, I don't know what I'd do with my free time. Maybe just...
No, me either. I would lose my mind.
Watch 20 hours of Netflix. Maybe go outside and socialise.
What do you think, Saif? Better or worse?
Horror show.
There's a bit of a mixed argument for me in, like, not so much the culture, but, like, the development side of things, but that's a whole other argument, really.
If you're taking the two together, and let's say the last 10 years, do you think it has improved in the last 10 years or gotten worse?
I think there's been an improvement these last 10 years compared to the 7th generation of consoles.
Definitely. And that's because game console publishers like Sony and Microsoft. Remember, like, Microsoft was trying to do their whole... It'll always be online, and it's more of a media box than a console.
And the PS3 had the cell processor, which was a bitch to work with.
Yeah, and they were doing like, no, this is Bluetooth, you can do it. But they were doing it before Bluetooth was sort of... Sorry, not Bluetooth, Blu-ray was getting wildly popular. So it was like, what the fuck? I'm paying... What was it, $1,000 when the PS3 released? I'm not paying $1,000.
Yeah.
It was a lot of money,
It was, I think it was, I remember seeing
and it was still the cheapest Blu-ray player on the market.
Yeah, that's right, it was too. Right. Yeah, the joke was, buy a PS3 instead of a Blu-ray player, that's right.
Yeah, it was the same thing for why the PS2 took off so well. It was the cheapest DVD player at the time. They tried to strike the same iron twice. Joke.
The only way that I ended up getting a PS3 was convincing my family, you totally notice the quality on the shitty 20-inch TV we have.
Plug it into a CRT.
We'll go halvesies. Anyway, I think that basically wraps up the audience question for this week. Thank you
bonus
to
question.
Dan for that. Bonus question.
Spoiler
Josh.
cast when?
Yeah, Josh.
I don't know. I've been so not good in my health and various other things for the last few weeks that I haven't really done anything. So hopefully I can get it done.
The excuses.
It has been 4 months.
It has been quite a while, yes.
Maybe we just outsource it to Saif.
How many episodes have I been on there for this 4 months? 1, 2?
I'm pretty sure you're actually at a 50% attendance rate.
That's not great.
But yeah, it's still a pass mark, big fella. Still a pass mark.
True. C's get podcast degrees. Am I right, fellas?
Oh my god.
Yeah, okay.
That was clever. Have I never heard the C's get degrees thing before?
It's P's get degrees, like passes.
What?
Like
What's
P?
a pirate's favourite letter?
You'd think so, but it's actually the C. Fuck off.
C,
get out of
yeah,
here. Get out of the chat. Get out of here. This is my first radio. This is my first pirate joke. Get out of here. Give me that booty.
It'll be your last pirate joke when I'm done with you.
Just like Johnny Depp's last movie.
Okay, we've shit the bed. Time to wrap it up.
Okay. Is there something that you or someone you know thinks that I fucked that completely? Is there a question that you or someone you know would like us to talk about here? Then feel free to get in touch. We are on Twitter at Fast Travel Lounge -1 of the L's, on Facebook at Fast Travel Lounge, or email good old email at fasttravellounge@gmail.com. If you've liked what you listened to, feel free to give us 5 stars or the number of stars you feel is appropriate. Leave a comment, leave a review. Help us defeat the algorithms and talk about video games to more people, apparently, just in case it wasn't traumatizing enough for the people that listen to currently. Outro for, teaser for next week. Anything on the cards?
You mean other than Last of Us Part 2?
That's your homework. You plan it right now.
Yeah, true.
I already played like the entire first game and this nearly half of the second game, so I'll probably finish the second game.
I have started...
Seth, Ace Attorney update?
Oh, yeah.
Hopefully. I've been wanting to go back to that game for weeks, but I've been so busy with other things that, trying to make sure I have a job at the end of the month.
This is your job.
Steve?
I've started playing...
I don't get paid for this job.
Not yet.
Not yet?
Neither do we.
Not that other. Neither do we. I've started playing a Pokemon fan-made game called Pokemon Xenoverse.
I think that's Dragon Ball
we can
Xenoverse.
talk about that.
It is Dragon Ball Xenoverse, but I've started to play it. Josh, stay focused. Last of Us 2.
Yeah, you're right.
When I finish it, I'll let you know how shit it is.
Oh, okay.
Also, no, you go. No, I don't know what I was going to say. I got confused.
Cool. Might have the second part or the last of the first of Last of Us Part 2 chats. You still with me, guys?
I'm still having a stroke. It hasn't ended. Please, someone call an ambulance.
Anyway, this brings us to the end of episode 23. I have been Patrick. I have been joined by Seth, Steve, and Josh. And thank you for listening. We'll catch you next time. Goodbye.
Happy birthday, Pokey Clicker. Everyone go play it.